There is an undeniable truth that knowledge is power. It can be a sword to smite your enemies, or it can be your own downfall. Zachary quickly gathered firewood, trying to remember when he used to go out with his new girlfriend and his family as a kid. He decisively threw away the useless small branches, suddenly forced into becoming an reluctant lumberjack. Zachary stretched his muscles a bit. Dad's probably just out buying wood. Hurry up. But I gotta admit, being alone in the woods like this doesn't feel half bad. He let out a heavy, exhausted sigh. It was actually a relief not having to deal with Hannah's friends anymore. They had known each other for so long that it was really hard for him to fit in. Calling Hannah's friends was a stretch, as they loudly criticized the mess on the ground. Come on, everyone, who the hell put up this tent? David, her boyfriend, quickly took the blame. Oh, sorry, that was me. She didn't know how to do it earlier, so I had to go over and show her. Her girlfriend, also brought some gear over. Calm down, Tay, this is a camping trip for everyone to have fun together. Do you want some sweets? He looked at the clearing in front of him, visibly impatient. No, I don't need any. It's just getting dark, we got here late, and nothing is done yet. Hannah, Zach's girlfriend, calmly reassured everyone. TR and everything else will be fine, just like last time. Besides, Zach can lend a hand. He's really good at this stuff. Zachary was the only one actually putting in real effort. I'll help out with whatever you need. She casually dumped the work on him, using the excuse, he's gone camping with his family tons of times. Jerry didn't stop working. I'm almost done chopping. Ty also comfortably ordered him around like a servant. Really? That's awesome. Then go find some more wood to get the fire going, lumberjack. Zachary walked over, holding his gleaming axe. The guy glared down at him, sending a slight chill down his spine. Zachary flashed a polite smile and walked past Tyler. I've got it covered. The moment Zachary was out of sight, Tyler didn't even bother to hide his envious expression. Tyler spoke up sharply, criticizing him, your boyfriend is way too uptight. Hannah just laughed it off. The whole group looked after Zachary with deep suspicion. But who even is that guy? He successfully gathered quite a bit of wood. I think this should be enough. Zachary threw away some of the smaller twigs to lighten the load. We don't even need that much wood anyway, it's just for one night. Suddenly, he stepped right into a bizarre anomaly. Zachary instantly felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He was abruptly pulled into a completely different, strange space. Zachary stood frozen, completely unable to process the situation. What the hell? What's going on here? Suddenly, a mechanical screen popped up, booting up a system. Welcome to the multiverse. He knitted his brows tightly, trying to make sense of it. The multiverse. Zachary guessed a few possible scenarios. Am I dreaming? Or have I completely lost my mind? The system continued its process. Scanning of planet Earth is complete. Compressive gravity and unclassified energy are currently adjusting. It appears the process is nearing completion. Due to its size and energy levels failing to meet the required conditions, planet Earth will be merged with another planet to initialize the adjusted geographical space. Respawn points will be set randomly. Living organisms will be upgraded to ensure the difficulty level. The more he read, the less he understood. Another planet? Upgrading living organisms? Finally, a notification flashed across the screen. Connection to the multiverse system has been activated. Zachary was so tense that he broke out into a cold sweat. Did Y lace the brownies? He desperately tried to call out for the others. Hannah, David, can anyone hear me? Hey, where is this place? Suddenly, an ear-piercing sound rang out along with an announcement. Initializing teleportation to hero respawn point. The screen flushed bright red. Error. Hero is currently unable to teleport. You must use the survival spin to survive. Zachary was forced to face yet another new concept, the survival spin. While he was questioning it, a dark aura materialized right behind Zachary's neck. Why does it have to be like this? A massive monster was glaring right down at him. Zachary was instantly terrified. What is that thing? It let out a deafening roar, exposing a mutated mouth crammed with razor-sharp teeth. The system explained the rules. Due to the massive power disparity between you and Hero Urkas, the odds are heavily stacked in the opponent's favor. Urkas, 1/100,000 spins. Zachary, 1/100 spins. Whoever lands the lower spin score will be obliterated. He stared in absolute horror at the numbers 100 and 100,000. The rules displayed clear as day on the screen, as if mocking him. What kind of ridiculous ratio is this? Zachary flat out refused to play along. With a gap that huge, I'm not spinning jack shit. The system completely ignored him. Quantity protocol 34,572 obeying Zachary's command, commencing spin. Right after that, the numbers started rolling. As it spun, he frantically began punching the screen repeatedly. Wait. Cancel. Cancel it. What kind of bullshit spin is this? Zachary was completely powerless to stop it. This is bad. Do you hear me? Stop the spin. A sharp ding rang out, and the result came up as 96. He calmed down a fraction for a moment. 96 out of 100, that's pretty much the highest score possible. At the exact same time, the hero's 6-digit sequence slowly began to roll. Zachary stopped caring about the result altogether. He understood the situation perfectly clear. To beat this thing, even this wouldn't be enough. The whirring sound of the wheel was torturing his mind. He thought about the loved ones he hadn't even had the chance to say goodbye to. Zachary couldn't stop blaming himself. Or Mackenzie. God, I'm such a terrible big brother. Suddenly, he wondered when the others would ever come looking for him. Hannah's friends probably wouldn't give a single shit about Zachary. He fell silent, accepting his fate. I'm going to die and lose everything. Zachary was filled with pure rage. Because of this goddamn spinning machine, he tightened his grip on the axe in his hand. He had made up his mind. I don't give a damn about the odds of that machine anymore. His entire body tensed up. Numbers washed over his body. Just give me a chance, just this once. The wheel stopped right on the number 91. The system flashed, congratulations. Zachary stood frozen in pure shock. He had absolutely no idea what the hell just happened. I won. At that exact moment, the hero began to be erased. Urka's 91 spin power is unavailable. Its massive body was blasted by an intense, blinding white light. A blazing red vortex swirled and surged directly toward Zachary. His right eye acted as a gateway, letting the energy pour straight into his body. A cascade of screens popped up one after another. Conclusion protocol: Zachary continues to exist. Urka's eliminated. Continuing to optimize respawn protocol. Zachary leveled up. Zachary leveled up. Not long after, he was dropped right back into a forest. Zachary groaned, lying on the cold ground. Stunned, he sat up and looked around. What just happened? Terrified, Zachary frantically checked his own body. Did I just pass out? I need to get back fast. But this didn't seem like the forest he was originally in. His eyes locked onto the bizarre plant life right in front of him. Where am I? The system popped up to provide a brief explanation. Due to its size and energy levels failing to meet the required conditions, planet Earth will be merged with another planet to initialize. He stood there completely paralyzed. Zachary exhaustedly clutched his head. No, it's just my imagination. This is all just a dream. He tried to find his way back using his memory. Is this the way back to the campsite? Zachary fumbled his way through the forest that felt both familiar and strangely alien. After a while, he finally reached his destination. There it is. Zachary spotted the familiar RV. I remember I didn't walk that far. Looks like they started the fire without waiting for me. He called out loudly toward it. Hey! Is everything all right over there? Zachary froze dead in his tracks at the campsite. There wasn't a single soul in sight. He instantly sensed danger. A monster was casually gnawing on the supply crate they had brought along. What the hell? That grotesque appearance looks nothing like any creature on Earth. It let out a roar, creating a shockwave that knocked Zachary back. The monster charged rapidly right at him. Zachary quickly tightened his grip on the axe in his hand. He decisively swung it in a wide arc. The monster was sliced clean through with absolute ease. However, it still managed to leave a nasty scratch on his shoulder. He was genuinely shocked, unable to believe he was actually this strong. Zachary started trying to connect the information from the screen displays he had seen earlier. System initialized. Welcome to the multiverse. He recalled the anomalies he had just encountered. The monsters. Everything was far too real. Zachary clutched the wound on his upper arm. It's not a dream, it's all real. He instantly decided to run for it. Where is everyone? Somebody help me! Zachary tried desperately to get into the vehicle. The monster was already closing in right behind him. Damn it! Where did they all go? I have to get out of here. Its speed was terrifying. This is bad. It's too fast. He dived to the side to dodge it. The monster crashed straight into the vehicle. Zachary suddenly noticed a pattern. Ha! It's lightning fast, but once it charges, it can't change direction. His brain instantly figured out a solution. Got it. Zachary quickly formed a plan. Then that method should work. While it was still dazed from the crash, he quickly circled around to its back. Zachary shouted loudly to bait the enemy. Over here! Come get me! The monster immediately turned around and charged. He ran straight into the forest. It was completely berserk, acting on pure mindless instinct. The monster closed the distance to Zachary in massive leaps. He panted heavily from exhaustion, having lost a significant amount of blood. Zachary lured it right to the spot where he had been teleported earlier. Come on! Sure enough, the ground began to shake violently again. He knitted his brows in sheer annoyance. Zachary could clearly see his own hands shaking. I'm terrified of facing death, but he instantly denied it. No, this isn't fear. The forest shook even more violently. A sudden surge of power erupted within his body. It was pure anger. He roared out a challenge. Bring it on! Come on and kill me! The monster charged like crazy. Already knowing its pattern, Zachary dodged it with ease. It slammed violently into the boulder beneath the tree. The monster quickly recoiled back. It growled, looking around frantically to find him. Zachary had already climbed up the nearby hill before it even realized. He aimed directly at the vertebrae on its back and struck down. It snapped completely in half instantly. Zachary relentlessly swung his axe over and over. The monster shrieked in agony, drenching him in blood. Compared to that monster from before, this thing was absolutely nothing. Every single axe blow landed with dead accuracy, each hit completely shattering its spine. Zachary didn't stop hacking for even a second. A mystical surge of power was flowing through his veins. The system flashed a new notification. Plus 100 Nisus coins. Zachary was completely spent, his body drenched in blood. He dragged his feet back toward the campsite, his wound continuously dripping blood. Zachary kept calling out Hannah's name as he walked. He let go, dropping the bloody axe to the ground. Zachary dragged his battered body along the side of the vehicle. Is anyone here? We have to. He finally reached the door handle. Exhausted, Zachary collapsed. He passed out right in front of the door. Zachary had only one single wish left, and that was home. Zachary groggily woke up. Blinding sunlight streamed down on him. He forced his heavily injured body up. Looking down at his blood-stained hands, Zachary couldn't help but gasp, "Oh my God." He fumbled around looking for his phone. What time is it? It was currently 8:47 a.m. Zachary's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. He yelled out in utter shock, "Have I been asleep for 3 whole days?" A moment later, Zachary got into the vehicle and started treating his wounds himself. Where the hell did Hannah and everyone else disappear to? 3 days have passed without a single clue about them. All their stuff is still right here. It took him a while to finish patching himself up. I have to face reality. If they haven't come back by now, they're probably dead. Zachary looked around, searching for information. What the hell is going on? He climbed up onto a tree branch. How is my body recovering this fast? By all accounts, I should be dead right now. But I'm still alive. He tried contacting the outside world. Alone in this forest with absolutely no network service whatsoever, there was practically no viable way to leave this place. The RV was completely out of gas. Zachary retrieved the axe, his most useful weapon at the moment. He thought back to that bizarre phenomenon from before and that creature. Zachary didn't have a single clue. But what even is it? Aliens? Is Earth being invaded? He started worrying about his family again. If this forest had been altered, what was the outside world like? He thought of his crybaby little sister. Kenzie. Zachary burned with determination. I have to get back home. He tried to climb up even higher. He tightened his grip and slammed the blade of the axe hard into the tree trunk to secure a footing. Zachary cast his gaze into the distance. A vast, endless forest stretched out before his eyes. If there's a way back, Zachary couldn't believe that as far as the eye could see, there was no sign of civilization. Am I on an island? He scowled deeply with pure hatred. Damn it. What did you do to my world? Zachary cursed out loud. Piece of shit system. The moment the words left his mouth, a blue interface flashed into view. A stream of screens flooded his vision one after another. Achievements: Born to Destroy, defeat the first monster in the world. All stats plus 10%. Surreal Reaper, defeat a fusion commander in the world solo. All stats plus 5%, all stats plus 10%. Lucky Draw, successfully pull off a lucky draw during a monster battle. Luck plus 5, luck plus 20%. Giant Slayer, defeat an enemy 5 levels above you solo. All stats plus 1. Heir of David, defeat an enemy 10 levels above you solo. All stats plus 2. Power Surge, defeat an enemy 25 levels above you solo. All stats plus 3. Leviathan Slayer, defeat an enemy 5 levels above you solo. All stats plus 5, all stats plus 10%. Level 10 Adventurer, Strength plus 1, Endurance plus 1, Intelligence plus 1. He was totally bewildered. What is this? Zachary stared blankly at the screen. Is this really me? The system panel displayed every single stat in full detail. Name: Zachary. Level 16. Race: Human. Earth. Titles: Born to Destroy, Surreal Reaper, Lucky Draw, Giant Slayer, Heir of David, Power Surge, Leviathan Slayer, Adventurer. Stats: Strength 31, Dexterity 25, Endurance 27, Vitality 27, Intelligence 29, Wisdom 29, Luck 44, Free Stat Points 30, Nisus Coins 5100. He grew more and more frustrated with this thing. Great. So it turned the world into a game. Zachary looked into it more closely. I'm already level 16 thanks to that spinning wheel machine? Pretty much all the stats I got are from these titles. His attention caught on a quest activation window: Infinite Potential Quest, reach level 25. Reward: unlock Bone Cleaving class advancement, slay 4 heralds and an invasion commander within 3 months. Reward: 10 E-grade Nisus crystals plus a special reward based on performance. Invasion Master, face the invading enemies and protect the base for 3 months. Reward: base upgraded to a town, receive the mayor title. He noticed a pillar of light in the distance. Quests, events. I'm guessing that red beam over there is the invasion zone. But where's the base? The system popped up: conditions met to create a base. Create now? Zachary hesitated. A base? He instinctively looked down at the makeshift campsite behind him. Having a place to call home wouldn't be bad, definitely better than being out here fighting monsters. After a moment of consideration, Zachary made his decision. Alright, do it. Create the base. The screen flickered for a brief second. He couldn't help but feel surprised. It's done already? It confirmed, congratulations, you have successfully built a base. Suddenly, a voice echoed out. What are you doing here? Zachary immediately went on high alert. He growled with pure killing intent. Who the fuck are you? Zachary instinctively backed away and slipped off the tree. Not human. It narrowed its single eye, looking down at him. And you aren't one of my kind either. He tried to regain his balance while falling. Zachary managed to grab onto something in midair. However, his face immediately went pale. What he had caught onto was the long, slithering body of a serpent. It wrapped tightly around him instantly. I let my guard down and let it attack me. The serpent frantically tried to constrict and tear Zachary apart. It tightened its grip like lightning. He berated himself while trying to find a way out. This looks like a game, but it's not. I can't let my guard down around here, and if I want to get stronger, I have to risk my life. Zachary released one hand from its body. He grabbed the serpent's head right away. Zachary used his strength to crush its head. I don't want to die here. Right then, the tree branch snapped in half. Both he and the serpent fell straight down. Zachary gritted his teeth and glared at it with pure hatred. The system only handed out rewards to those who were hunters. He had grasped the core rule: strength was a prerequisite in this world. Only that, if I want to survive, I have to become the strongest. A moment later, Abby strolled back casually. That guy probably hasn't seen scenes like this very often. It hovered around comfortably. A base has its uses, but is that guy seriously planning to choose a tree for a base? Abby assessed with a sigh. I've assisted countless entities from so many races and species in this multiverse, and humans are always highly rated. But a treehouse is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Suddenly, a noise from below caught its attention. Zachary was swinging his axe frantically, blood spraying with every single slash. Abby was shocked and rushed down to check. Zachary gasped for air, exhausted. He had hacked the serpent into various large and small chunks. Zachary glared and pointed his axe at Abby threateningly. It startled at his action. It thought solemnly. I see. Perhaps I judged too quickly. You're actually quite talented. He didn't lower his guard. Abby introduced itself. My name is Veth Abruk, or you can just call me Abby. I was sent here to assist you in building a base, Zachary asked cautiously. My name is Zach. It doesn't even have a mouth, so how is it talking? What do you mean by assist me? It looked down at him with disdain again. Wonderful, another idiot who skipped the tutorial. I'm the assistant dispatched when you selected the base building quest. He grumbled at Abby in annoyance. Tutorial? What tutorial? That system didn't tell me anything. 3 days ago, it just left me all alone in this forest. Abby nodded as if realizing something. So you didn't get a tutorial, huh? Guess that's it. Right after that, it shrieked in a panic. 3 days? This world was only initialized 3 days ago? Are you sure you don't mean 3 months? Zachary stated firmly. No, days. He tapped its round head. If that's true, then, Abby floated excitedly around his head. Wow, then you must have been labeled a defiant one. Finally, this orb struck gold. Zachary frowned in confusion. What kind of title is that anyway? It began to explain in detail. I guess the tutorial hasn't been handed down yet, which is why you haven't read it. Your world has only just merged with the multiverse, which includes numerous galaxies and has existed for billions of years, it added. Many people from your world will be teleported to the novice village next month to learn. The system announced excitedly, welcome, newbies, he asked quickly. So my family is still safe, right? It confirmed. If they are in the novice village, then yes. Currently, it laid out the brutal truth. Some people lack capability and cannot absorb cosmic energy on their own. Sooner or later, they will die. Individuals who can't cultivate won't be able to resist the dangerous threats from the system. Zachary returned to the campsite with Abby. Are there any other defiant ones? He stared warily and asked Abby. So am I going to die too? It didn't rule out the possibility. Maybe, maybe not. A defiant one is an individual who can grow in strength far beyond expectations, Abby added with amusement. The system thought you were a weakling and decided to kill you, but you defied its demands. You rejected your fate. It confirms Zachary's extraordinary nature. Defiance carries its own power, but your situation is extremely intense. You've been given a wonderful opportunity, but it won't be easy. He shouldered his axe. You call almost dying by that camera an opportunity? Abby corrected the perspective. I don't, but the system does. It knows better than anyone. And in the grand scheme of the multiverse, the prophecy is one of the things worth paying attention to, Abby asserted firmly. I'm warning you, the system hates weaklings. Zachary, you're just like an ant before absolute power. Fail or give up, and you'll be punished, he growled, unable to hide his anger. Are you saying I have to complete all the quests and kill all the monsters, and that I have no other choice? Abby offered some sincere advice. You are very close to them. The system is watching you, don't let them down. It suddenly spun around as if looking for something. After a while, Abby whispered quietly in Zachary's ear. Also, you should try to complete the quest within 1 month instead of 3. That would. Before it could finish its sentence, it was violently electrocuted. He stared blankly as Abby was teleported away. A cold screen notified, base administrator has been recalled by the system. It happened so fast that Zachary couldn't even react. What the hell? Suddenly, his head throbbed. 1 month. Suddenly, the scene shifted to a lavish party with an ancient style. Orgus coldly raised his glass. He was completely out of place in this atmosphere. Aaliyah seductively approached him. You don't seem very happy, Lord Orgus, she spoke enthusiastically. Smile, today is a happy day. Orgus growled. What's there to be happy about? Aaliyah raised her glass toward the hall. Lord Okrill's grandfather was just granted the title of Infiltration Commander. That's an honor any of us would die to have. His gaze locked onto someone. Orgus frowned immediately. An honor they had to murder for. The other party glared right back at him. She teased mockingly. Then you should probably spend your time preparing for the match instead of partying with everyone. Orgus turned his back and walked away. The match. I thought you understood me better than anyone. Aaliyah watched him step down into the party hall. I'm not fighting anyone. That game isn't for me. Let those fools be manipulated. Suddenly, someone was affected by poison in the wine. He collapsed onto the floor, his wine glass shattering. Instantly, someone screamed in a panic. Who did this? Someone help him. Orgus seemed to have known it all along, and they were walking straight into their own graves. On a beautiful early morning by the stream, the forest was teeming with bizarre creatures. The familiar monster was drinking water by the shore. The scene would have been perfectly peaceful if it were just a normal dog. A butterfly gently fluttered its wings toward the monster. It ignored it, letting the butterfly land right on its nose. The insects brought by the system looked incredibly bizarre too. The monster flicked its ears slightly, and the butterfly flew away. Sensing danger, it attempted to flee, but Zachary was quick enough to sever the monster's vertebrae. The system immediately granted rewards. Title acquired, Demon Slayer, increases all stats by 3% when fighting the demon race, plus 100 Nisus coins. Level up. He sat down to rest right next to it. Finally, Zachary had grown accustomed to this anomaly. Leveling up in this system wasn't too hard. Looks like I have some stat points I can allocate from leveling up. I still haven't used the ones from level 16. The system screen displayed, level 17 is strength, 31 dexterity, 25 endurance, 27 vitality, 27 intelligence, 29 wisdom, 29 luck, 44 unallocated stats, 32 He's seriously considered it. Should I learn more about this world first before choosing what to upgrade? No, that fight with the serpent earlier happened because I let my guard down too much. I need to be smart about this. Zachary continuously tapped the screen. I need to choose the stats that can help me the most right now. The rest can wait. The stats updated, strength, 31 plus 10 dexterity, 25 plus 6 endurance, 27 plus 5 vitality, 27 plus 11 intelligence, 29 wisdom, 29 luck, 44 unallocated stats, 0 He understood his current situation clearly. Because I could be alive today and dead tomorrow. Zachary lay down, lost in thought. 25 days left until the first month is over. Was what it said true? There had to be a reason it told me. He still vividly remembered those words from that moment. Also, you should try to complete the quest within 1 month instead of 3. Zachary narrowed his eyes in thought. That was why the system punished it. He couldn't help but lament the unfairness. Whether completed in 1 month or 3, the rewards were exactly the same. Life really is a drag. Zachary optimistically noted that he had a head start to explore while everyone else was still in the novice village. He took a sip of cool spring water. I can't let this go to waste. Zachary yanked his axe out, shouldering it to look for a new target. That's right, Zachary was pumped up with motivation. Time to get back to work. Night fell quickly. He sat alone by the campfire, eating monster meat for sustenance. He took the opportunity to check his profile. Almost all of his titles were related to being the first to do something. Zachary brought up a series of screens: born to destroy, defeat the very first monster in the world. All stats plus 10%. Surreal Reaper, solo defeat a fused commander in the world. All stats plus 5%. All stats plus 10%. Leviathan Slayer, solo defeat an enemy over 50 levels higher. All stats plus 5%. All stats plus 10%. Zachary took a large bite of meat. He quickly concluded. But when I built this base, I wasn't given any materials. That means someone out there completed the quest before me. Another defiant one just like me. Zachary couldn't help but wonder, if a serpent could turn into such a powerful creature, then how much stronger could they actually get? He searched while speculating. The base shop probably sells things to make me stronger, or maybe help me find my family. He scrolled quickly through the screens. Everything had to be purchased with Nisus coins. Every time I kill a demon hound, I get 100 coins, and from the serpent, I got a few hundred. Suddenly, Zachary paused at an item. His eyes lit up. It could teleport people here, or better yet, teleport me home. I'll leave this island and go back. But the price was highway robbery. Teleportation point, 10 million Nisus coins. That number hit him like a ton of bricks. 10 million Nisus coins, Zachary seriously pondered and calculated. I'd have to kill so many monsters. There's no way just grinding monsters would yield that much, but what about the quests? He had figured out his immediate path. The shop had plenty of things. If a newbie could already be this strong, I have to try. I have to bet everything on it. Zachary reopened the system to activate the quests. Boundless potential, reach level 25. Reward, unlock the Bone Cleaver skill, kill 4 heralds and an infiltration commander within 3 months. Reward, 10 Grady Nisus crystals plus a special reward based on results. Infiltration master, confront infiltrating enemies and defend the base within 3 months. Reward, base upgraded to a town. Acquire the mayor title. He reached a conclusion. But unlike stat points, I need to save my coins. Zachary took another bite of meat. I have to use them for the right purpose. He decided to pull the trigger. And there were only 2 things he could afford. One was a skill, Heavenly Eye skill, price, 3,000 Nisus. A stream of cosmic energy reveals basic information about a creature. It will show me the basic info of whatever creature is in front of me. Hopefully, it'll show me how to kill these monsters. The other one, Great F Mother-Child Energy Gathering Array, price, 3,000 Nisus. The Mother Array slowly gathers cosmic energy from the surrounding area and transfers it to the wearer. When wearing this necklace, I can absorb cosmic power from monsters every 24 hours. Boosts energy while sleeping. I might not be a righteous cultivator, but nothing stops me from stealing their skills. After meditating for a bit, Zachary stood up again to grab his axe. This is wasting too much time, I should go butcher a few more. He looked at the high-priced goal one last time, the teleportation point. Zachary tilted his head back and swallowed the last piece of meat. From then on, I spent most of my time hunting. Whenever I found prey, I would easily take it down. And when it found me, it was the same story. Come rain or shine, Zachary never rested. These footprints were fresh, but with every battle, I learned more. How to swing an axe with the right posture, how to block attacks, how to use new skills. He expertly activated Heavenly Eye. So you're a demon hound, huh? A green screen appeared above its head, race, demon hound, demonic faction, title, Azrazak Legion. I made a lot of makeshift shelters around the island just in case I couldn't make it back to base in time. Zachary's life here became a repetitive cycle of hunting, fighting, and hacking away. I've killed hundreds. Maybe tens of thousands. Every level up required more kills. But my strength grew substantially, until I felt those demon hounds weren't even worth hunting anymore. They used to be prey. Zachary had grown used to fierce battles. Level 23, I need to keep up with this pace. He checked his stats while telling himself. Name, Zachary Atwood. Level, 23 Strength, 59 Dexterity, 39 Endurance, 42 Vitality, 48 Intelligence, 29 Wisdom, 29 Luck. 44 less than 5 days left until the first month is over. Meanwhile, at Orgus's lavish mansion, Rydell aggressively walked into his office. Orgus cheerfully raised his glass. Rydell, good to see you. Tell me, how are the preparations for the infiltration invasion coming along? He knitted his brows impatiently. You know the answer perfectly well. If you find it too troublesome to read the reports, Orgus sneered, not caring at all. Then what are you going to do while working under me? A commander's job is to give orders. Come take a seat, you look too tense. Rydell flatly rejected the gesture. I'll take the liberty of standing, sir. He glared at the wine glass in his hand. Drunk already? He gritted his teeth and growled. Why keep talking nonsense? Is there anything else I need to do? Our unit has halted infiltration operations for several weeks now. Rydell suddenly let out a devious chuckle. You're right, he slid a report forward. Then sign this for me, and you can do whatever the hell you want. Orgus immediately whipped out a pen. Your cousin Kevin taking office as the expeditionary commander? Why not? Rydell left, satisfied. Thank you, Commander. I'll make sure your orders are carried out immediately. He contentedly went back to his wine. Very good, Rydell. I knew I could trust you, he responded by slamming the door shut. As soon as Rydell left, a sly smile crept onto Orgus's face. Just a few more weeks and I'll escape this dog den. All right, back to Zachary on the deserted island. He carefully traced the marks on the ground. Zachary's gaze resembled that of a skilled predator. He spotted a demon hound yawning lazily. Zachary tightened his grip on the axe. I still haven't been paying enough attention to my surroundings. Before I could notice, it sensed danger and jolted up. He was completely stunned. What? Why was the demon hound suddenly torn to shreds in an instant by a giant creature? It was 5 times larger than normal. Zachary didn't dare to breathe heavily. It was tearing and mauling viciously in a frenzy. The phantom hound sniffed around, searching. It left its meal halfway and paced back and forth. The phantom hound suddenly accelerated, charging straight toward him. It widened its bloodshot eyes in sheer shock. When had Zachary already vanished? He sprinted away at full speed. What the hell was that thing? It's over, Zachary thought while running for his life. It's way stronger than those other monsters. Do I really have to kill that? Its claws are as thick as my arm. He made a split-second decision. I have to head back to base. I need a concrete plan to take it down. A crackling campfire lighting up the night instantly put Zachary on alert. 2 different monster species were communicating. He was amazed. Are they talking to each other? The scene was too bizarre. Zachary carefully hid behind a large tree to eavesdrop. What the hell? The 2-legged creature is grilling meat. He figured that one looked smarter. Zachary frowned, speculating. Are they here looking for me? Will they blow the cover on my base? He quickly activated his skill, testing out Heavenly Eye. Right at that moment, they noticed Zachary's presence. Race, Gimp, Demonic Faction, Title, Azrazak Legion. Race, Phantom Hound, Demonic Faction, Title, Azrazak Legion. He bolted upright instantly. Damn it, it saw me. The imp quickly launched a dark orb. Zachary managed to dodge it in the nick of time. The imp dashed forward at lightning speed. Zachary noticed the imminent danger. It saw me, he cursed under his breath. Damn it! Zachary slammed into the imp with all his might. It quickly bounced back behind him. Zachary's gaze remained vigilant. He sensed another threat nearby. The phantom hound suddenly launched a frontal assault. It completely overwhelmed him in both strength and stamina. Its razor-sharp teeth hungered for prey. Zachary struggled to push it away. Get the hell off me! He then quickly put out the fire on his burning shoulder. What kind of fire is this? It looked just like any other flame, but it was actually gnawing at his soul. On one side, the imp was absolutely thrilled. The phantom hound, meanwhile, looked at him like a juicy piece of meat. Zachary suddenly realized the danger of his situation. There were 2 of them, and he only had a broken axe. If I can't take out these 2 monsters, then I don't deserve the opportunities I'd been given. He charged forward, taking the initiative. At the same time, the imp unleashed its magic. Zachary dodged agilely while advancing forward. The phantom hound leaped up, opening its massive jaws. He quickly wrapped his arms around its entire body. The phantom hound was still dazed. Zachary let out a loud shout to muster his strength. Then, he delivered a heavy punch to the phantom hound. Zachary relied entirely on raw physical impact. Every single blow carried terrifying power. He kicked it squarely in the throat. The phantom hound was nearly incapacitated. The imp flashed a gruesome smile. It blindsided Zachary from behind. His arms felt as though they had frozen solid. His entire body was paralyzed with pain. In Zachary's mind, thoughts raced. I guess it was just pure luck back then. Flames gradually enveloped his body. The phantom hound hadn't collapsed yet, and wanted to finish Zachary off right away. Cosmic energy, a substance separating the multiverse. From the very moment the system arrived here, from the very beginning, fate had destined me to die. But it was at that exact moment that cosmic energy flowed through me. The great F mother-child energy gathering array taught me how to feel it. My personal skills showed me how to use it. It all came down to me learning and controlling it myself. The scythe was blocked by a strange magical force. Zachary's eyes turned bloodshot, filled with veins. He grabbed the phantom hound's tail with ease. You shouldn't have broken my axe. The imp also realized something was wrong. It gritted its teeth in anger. The imp relentlessly hurled fireballs. Zachary didn't hesitate to lift the phantom hound up. He swung the phantom hound in a circle. Right after that, he let go as if throwing a ball. There wasn't a hint of warmth in Zachary's eyes. The imp was just as eager for a fight. The two clashed like artillery shells and exploded. Day 30, the final day of the first month. Wood fragments drifted loosely onto the water's surface. The imp and the phantom hound floated down the river. The rushing current slammed hard against the rocks. Zachary was diligently whittling away. He admired his handiwork for a moment. That should do it. It would be better if I reached level 25 and picked a class instead of doing this. But I was told to complete the quest within a month. Even if I can't finish it, it doesn't mean I'm giving up. After all, the system is very risky just to get a reward. I'll probably have to take on other quests. He felt extremely confident about his upcoming journey. Time to kill the second herald. Elsewhere, a hand rested on the railing. Another person appeared beside him. Orgus offered a polite smile. Looks like a month has passed and we're still nowhere, huh? Rydell replied without hesitation. Yes, that's right. He didn't stop there and continued. But this is just the beginning. Once the teleportation gate protocol is finished and put into use, we won't see anyone from the guild again, and the real work will begin. Orgus looked down at the rift and the massive horde of demons, marveling. How fascinating. I can't wait any longer. Zachary was fighting enthusiastically. He was going toe-to-toe with the monsters all by himself. He was blown away by a single strike. Zachary immediately bounced back up to continue the fight. His gaze darkened slightly. The massive monster before him was called a void, level 45. Zachary suddenly recalled a childhood memory of when he went fishing by the river with his dad. His dad turned to him and said, "You know, Zach, every animal has its own special ability. Birds can fly, rabbits can run fast." The sound of the fishing rod clicking caught both of their attention. Dad hooked one. The rod bent completely taut. Zachary's dad added quietly. Fish are very sharp. He reeled it in calmly. But they don't know how to use traps or bait like we do. Even cavemen knew how to use spears. The key point here is that we don't catch them because we are a more advanced species, because catching them helps us discover just how far our own capabilities go. 2 hours before the battle with the Herald, Zachary was building a trap. You're absolutely right, Dad. Fortunately, he looked at his achievement. I have a lot of spears here. Back to the battle. The void was charging aggressively. Zachary became even more alert on the defensive. He also recognized his own strength. I can't use pure power to defeat it. The power gap between us is way too wide. The void lunged forward, wanting to maul its opponent to death. If I take even one hit from it, I'm dead. While dodging the attacks, he racked his brain for a solution. I must not let it touch me. Zachary unleashed a physical attack. The void sprayed a stream of red blood. It became even more ferocious. He directed his golden eyes forward. I can channel cosmic energy to every part of my body. Veins bulged across Zachary's arms, enhancing his physical strength. The void didn't care and kept charging like crazy. Zachary ran fast. Chase me. But I'm not the chosen one. The void was closing in step by step. Factoring in his calculations, his cosmic energy wasn't abundant, so I have to use it wisely. There's zero room for error. The void extended its long claws. Zachary's entire body was tense to the limit. Come on, Zach. He tried to channel all his strength into his legs. His entire body suddenly leaped incredibly high. Control the energy. Zachary looked at the monster and told himself quietly. Kill it. He swung his axe straight down. A group of demons appeared before the massive rift. A set of footsteps approached step by step. Orgus looked around and asked, Where is Rydell? One of them quickly answered. He already went through the teleportation gate, Commander. His gaze glanced back slightly. Soon after, he regained his confident demeanor. But you won't be able to follow him. Orgus flashed a baffling, mysterious smile. On this side, the fierce battle in the forest raged on. Zachary cursed quietly in frustration. Damn it, I overused it. My body can no longer accumulate cosmic energy. If I keep pushing, my energy channels will rupture. The monster was closing in on him, but I can't stop. Zachary saw the trap not far ahead. Almost there, the monster lunged forward in pain. The two had been playing cat and mouse for a while. Zachary's eyes lit up. He didn't stop but moved even faster. The monster remained hot on his heels. Zachary jumped up because the perfect moment had arrived. He broke his once smooth trajectory. The monster couldn't stop its momentum in time. It let out a ferocious, menacing roar. Its massive legs dug deep into the ground. Its eyes turned a furious shade of red. Zachary wasn't entirely sure Did it work? The monster fell right into the trap. It died slowly in agony. The monster's eyes widened starkly. The system chimed with a notification: level up. Reach level 25. Quest complete. Class selection feature unlocked. Zachary couldn't help but feel ecstatic. I did it. After moments of exhaustion, he finally dared to relax. I did it. Do you see that? You stupid system, I killed it. His sentence was cut short by an overwhelming, oppressive pressure. A pair of glowing red eyes emerged from the darkness. Zachary saw everything clearly and cursed. Damn it! He was completely surrounded by a pack of beasts. In another castle, a soldier stared trembling at the person in front of him. Wait! Orgus cleanly sliced off the space right above him. A dull thud echoed. He casually dealt with the small fries. The armor came with a question. How much longer do we have to wear this stupid armor? Orgus sheathed his sword and replied calmly. Until I want to. Namis, the other person, complained. Seriously? Orgus spoke to the soldier who was drawing his final breaths. No, you don't. Aaliyah's seductive voice rang out. Me too? And the answer was no exception, especially for her. Orgus gave a serious command. I don't want anyone knowing about your presence. The fewer people who know, the better. Another person handling the aftermath reminded him. Think it through, Orgus. We won't receive his protection anymore once we step through that gate. The remaining soldier was tortured to death. The other person remained extremely calm, as if brushing off a speck of dust. Nothing left. Orgus glanced with his pitch-black, expressionless eyes and said. Then just do it. I'm sick and tired of this damn guild. The new planet seems way more interesting and safer than this place. His eyebrows knitted tightly together. All that was left was to meet the person on that planet. Zachary was struggling to flee from the monsters. Damn it, they're everywhere. He glanced back slightly, and then he grew even more desperate. Why didn't Abby tell me that killing a herald would summon every single damn monster on this island? This is bad. My internal energy is running dry. I used it all up fighting that herald. There's no way I can outrun this entire horde of monsters. They're going to tear me limb from limb. Right then, one of them lunged to attack him head-on. Zachary reacted just in time, escaping danger in the blink of an eye. He was at a disadvantage and found himself in a perilous situation. Zachary tried to feel his body. His internal energy had only recovered a tiny bit after killing that suspect elephant. Not much at all, practically nothing. But if I can keep killing them continuously, if I can absorb energy at the exact same rate it's consumed, Zachary flashed a triumphant smile. Then I won't have to run from them anymore. With that thought, he abruptly stopped and turned around to face the ferocious monsters head-on. Zachary swiftly dispatched one with a clean strike. He dove into the middle of the horde, swinging his axe. I just need to slaughter them all. Elsewhere, her power radiated a murderous intent. Rydell quieted admired the scene. What he was held up by didn't matter. In Orgus's absence, I am the commander. He immediately issued orders. Kevin, organize the scout teams. Something killed the Urkez Herald. I want to know what it was. Kevin reported completion almost instantly. Sir, Rydell slammed his hand on the table, announcing. Good. Move to the plan for our outpost. The sooner, the better. We need to get upgraded. Right then, information was just delivered. Someone was coming through the teleportation gate. The people in the room couldn't help but buzz with excitement. Did Lord Orgus finally decide to show up? Who could it be? Steady footsteps marched inside. Orgus and his people strode forward proudly, his gaze locked onto the person opposite him. Rydell was no exception. Deep in the forest, Zachary was running on fumes. His arm bore a wound, and a patch of skin was missing from his leg. Blood dripped from his axe. His voice trembled slightly. I need to find the battlefield littered with monster corpses, one of my supply depots. Zachary dragged his exhausted feet step by step. There it is. That tree. He reached out and grabbed a branch, then swung his entire body up quickly. His perspective shifted, and the position was much safer. Zachary was completely drained of energy after a full day of fighting. The sky soon began to brighten. He slowly woke up in a daze. It's already been over a month, though. The world still hasn't ended. What on earth am I talking about? It already ended last month. He adjusted his gear a little, then quickly slid down to the base of the tree. Zachary tried to feel things out. The recovery speed of his body was truly astonishing. Even so, he still hadn't fully recovered to 100%. This journey would still be very long, but once he reached that place, he would be able to choose his class. A faint noise suddenly rang out. Zachary's eyes were filled with alertness. Is someone watching me? A demon soldier was scouting the surroundings. He slowly realized the guy's identity. Is that a demon? The demon sat down and muttered something. Silent Kai virus Vizara Togat van Mellen va, Orgus. The very next second, Zachary rushed out like a gust of wind. A dull thud echoed through the forest. Holding his weapon firmly, he said politely, "I'll take this." Thanks. Then, Zachary carried the demon and threw him into the forest. The sky quickly turned to night. The demon soldier woke up as water was splashed on him. Startled, he quickly screamed, "Vao! Vao!" Zachary cut him off with his sharp axe blade. "Virginia," he greeted very politely, "Greetings." The demon stared at him blankly. "Human." Zachary slowly pieced together a few details. "So you can understand what I'm saying? Then tell me, how many of your kind are invading my world?" The demon's status screen appeared. Azan, level 33, faction, Azrazak. Without wasting words, he delivered a threatening strike. "Answer me." The guy's entire body flared up with a murderous aura from anger. Azan spoke in a groaning curse. Zachary cursed under his breath. Damn it! He quickly ran away from the sudden explosion. Shredded pieces of cloth fluttered down. The ground was scorched hot. The surroundings were almost heavily affected. Did he absorb a massive amount of energy just to blow himself up, just so I couldn't dig any information out of him? Zachary looked at the remains and muttered in admiration, "Well, that's a surprise. These demons are going to be a real pain in the ass." Zachary remained hidden in the treetop, carefully observing whether the area was safe yet after the chaotic explosion. Several hours had passed since the demon scout turned himself into fireworks. Fortunately, no reinforcements showed up to check on the mess. Zachary quickly jumped down to the ground, his face flushed with anger because the scout had blown himself up and taken a whole bunch of loot with him. Our protagonist was now left wearing nothing but a tattered cloak and a few layers of bandages. He really hoped the demon would drop some decent armor instead of leaving behind a giant crater. Zachary stared at the scorched earth, thinking that if he had known it would self-destruct, he would have picked its pockets first. He recalled the fanatical look in the demon's eyes. A guy willing to blow himself up just to take it out on the locals. The explosion was loud enough to wake up the whole neighborhood, though luckily his current neighbors were either all dead or in another dimension. The only bright spot was his shiny new axe. His old one was now no different from a dull butter knife. Moreover, a major milestone had finally arrived. Zachary reached level 25, the sacred number that unlocked power upgrades. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Survival seemed to be starting to tip in his favor. But before opening the superpower gift box, there were still a few chores to do. He opened the interface and immediately bought the small-scale illusion array, F rank, that had just become available. With a heavy thud, a large, crude chest appeared right in front of him. He pried the lid open, revealing a set of glowing purple stakes inside, looking completely different from the last illusion array. Zachary moved around the perimeter of the camp, carefully driving each magical stake into the ground. He drove the final stake in, completing the circle. He took a step back to admire his work, eager to see how this new defense system operated. The illusion array hummed to life, and the stakes began to spark with crackling purple electricity. A powerful wave of magical energy burst from the center, sweeping past Zachary. As the system confirmed the activation, a shimmering purple dome expanded until it covered the entire campsite, wagon included. From the outside looking in, the clearing in the forest seemed to ripple and disappear, replaced by the image of a peaceful, untouched primeval forest. Zachary touched the shimmering boundary, amazed at the perfect camouflage of the entire base. He breathed a sigh of relief, finally able to focus without worrying about wandering demons. Having handled the security issue, he shifted his full attention to the main event, choosing a class. A blue notification popped up, congratulating him on reaching level 25 and asking if he was ready to choose. Zachary didn't hesitate for a single second, pressing the yes button with a confident smile. His excitement was cut short by a red error screen demanding 6,000 Nessus coins to purchase a Nexus connection node. Zachary cursed the system's greed, realizing this amount would nearly wipe out all the coins he had hard-earned with blood and sweat. He gritted his teeth and confirmed the transaction, praying that this process wouldn't expose his location. A beam of light shot straight down into the ground, and a giant, glowing nexus crystal appeared in the middle of the camp. He approached this strange relic, unsure if it was just an interface or something more permanent. He tapped the base with the head of his axe, triggering a new notification. The crystal flashed, and a new window appeared before his eyes. He narrowed his eyes as the system informed him that he had 5 distinct class options. A predatory smile spread across his face. The moment he had fought so hard for had finally come. The first option was Warrior, a common class for those skilled in basic melee combat. Next was Apprentice, also a common class, focusing on using basic magical elements. The third was Mariner, a rarer class specifically designed for naval combat at sea. Next was Demon Hunter, a rare class specializing in tracking down and destroying demonic threats. Finally, there was Hatchetman, a rare class described as the lumberjack of the endless enemy forest. Zachary paused for a moment to process the list, quite pleased that the options were more diverse than he thought. He also noticed that they all started at F rank, the baseline for everyone in this new world. The fact that they were all upgradable meant this choice would shape his future development path. This was a crucial decision, so he immediately tossed aside the 2 common classes, Warrior and Apprentice. Choosing a regular class when a rare option was available would be a total waste. He considered Demon Hunter, but worried that specializing too early might backfire later on. He didn't want to end up useless if he ran into something that wasn't a demon. He needed a path that could handle any threat, from insects to monsters. He dismissed the Mariner class right away. He had absolutely no interest in being stuck on a boat in the middle of the ocean. That left only one truly logical choice for his survival. He believed the system would reward those who took the biggest risks, and Hatchetman was exactly the rare reward he deserved. Although he wondered a bit whether it would lock him into only using axes with his current gear, it wasn't a big deal. Zachary chuckled to himself, realizing that choosing a rare class wasn't just a smart move, but a massive advantage for survival. He gripped the glowing crystal tightly, feeling a surge of primal power pulsing through the crystal and into his bandaged hands. Hatchetman ***, he declared decisively, his eyes burning with intensity. A blinding flash of light shot up, confirming his decision. The system chimed to confirm his new identity, permanently binding him to the Hatchetman class. Notifications flooded his vision one after another, granting him his full class titles and rare skills. But the final notification left him stunned. He was named the world's first pioneer, a title that granted +5 to all stats. His entire body exploded with surging golden electrical energy. The raw power from the stat boost ran through his muscles and veins. He gritted his teeth, enduring the overwhelming sensation as the system forced his physical limits to expand. As the system listed his comprehensive growth, Zachary dropped to his knees, his body struggling to adapt to the sudden explosion of power. He lay still for a moment, steam rising from his burning skin, panting heavily as he tried to catch his breath. He raised his head, a single eye flashing with a predatory golden light, realizing just how far ahead of the rest of the world he had become. He opened his status screen, his eyes widening as he saw his strength stat soar to an astonishing 92. He looked at his hands in disbelief. By his calculations, strength alone had skyrocketed by 28 points in just an instant. He flexed his bandaged arm, his muscles rippling so intensely that they made a pop sound in the air through sheer force. A cold, dangerous smile appeared on his lips as he prepared to dive deeper into his new abilities. He opened his class menu and was greeted by a list of incredibly powerful-looking skills. Even though each skill was locked behind annoying combat challenges, Zachary still stood tall, golden sparks still dancing around him. Even with a rare class, the system gave nothing away for free. He gripped his axe tightly, accepting that he would have to kill thousands more enemies if he wanted to master this new path. His silhouette darkened against the forest trees. He swore to show the invaders that there was a demon in this world far more terrifying than them. With 2 of the 5 marks marked for elimination already handled, Zachary shifted his attention to the remaining lesser gods and their general, realizing that for the demons, this invasion was no tragedy. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Although everything had almost completely fallen apart due to the stupid mistakes of those prophets, in the end, the clans had put truly capable individuals in command, like Keverin, who was thoroughly enjoying the perks of his new position. While the monsters he brought along did the dirty work of clearing the island, Keverin just kicked back and enjoyed the show. He honestly thought that nothing on this island could touch him. Meanwhile, Zachary was in the deep woods, looking less like a threat and more like a guy running errands. Keverin was busy grumbling about wasting a whole month of preparation because of the general's tactics, knowing they had to move fast before invasions of other planets started stealing all the good loot. Yet, sacrificing 10,000 slaves seemed to have earned heaven's favor. Keverin wore the expression of a guy who had just won the lottery. His scout had just reported back with news that made everything worthwhile. Deep within the mountains, they had discovered a massive vein of Nexus crystals. A treasure like that was worth more than anything most people could imagine. That was a fortune even greater than what the clan elders possessed. As the scout leader, Keverin was in charge of discovering this treasure, and he had a little secret. Not every shiny thing he found would be handed over to his superiors. The feeling was just too great, so he ordered his subordinates to set up camp because he was tired of walking. He found a spot to watch the sunset and asked Kayla what she thought, but she was still trying to adjust to this planet's bizarre weather. Gormer had already set up a lavish dining table with pastries and a red tablecloth. Keverin invited Kayla to sit with him, telling her to drop the formalities and just call him by his name. Kayla was a bit surprised that he was taking a lunch break right at the start of a major invasion. Keverin just flicked a bug away as if it wasn't worth his attention, bragging that he always made time for the things that truly mattered in life. But he quickly grew annoyed as more and more mosquitoes buzzed around the fancy meal. He had gone to great lengths to convince Kayla to join this trip and didn't want it ruined. When a fly landed straight on his food, Keverin barked at Gormer to do something about the pests. He called Gormer again, but the silence made him freeze. Suddenly, Kayla gasped in horror and hurriedly reached for her bowl, the atmosphere shifting completely. From above, Zachary plunged down and smeared the blood of a guard across the ground. Kayla screamed, "It's a native!" Keverin sprang up, his hands glowing with energy, roaring, "Kill him!" Right then, an arrow whistled through the air, but Zachary was already moving, reaching for another blade to finish the job. He kept up the attack, moving faster than any human should be able to. Kayla's arrow was sliced in half by Zachary. Keverin drew his giant black greatsword and prepared to end this insect once and for all. The collision between the sword and Zachary's axe sent blue sparks flying everywhere. Metal scraped against metal as the two locked eyes amidst the chaos. Keverin just smirked, seemingly amused that this planet actually had a human worth his time, speaking loudly about crushing them like all the other parasitic insects on this planet. But Zachary was pushing back incredibly hard, even as dark energy began to swirl around them. Gormer watched in disbelief as this native could actually go toe-to-toe with Keverin. The two demons rushed at Zachary, trying to overwhelm him with numbers, but Zachary leaped out of harm's way just in time. Zachary didn't hesitate, throwing a devastating punch that sent Gormer staggering. The force of the impact rang out as if the demon's armor was about to shatter. He was thrown backward by the massive kinetic force, the air seemingly cracking as the magical reaction from the demon armor detonated. Gormer slammed hard onto the ground in agony, the impact knocking the wind out of him and knocking him unconscious instantly. Keverin didn't waste a single second, rushing forward with a slash that cracked the ground right where Zachary had just been standing. He was genuinely confused as to how a native could keep up with him. Zachary gripped his axe tighter, the wooden handle creaking under the pressure as he prepared for the next round. Dark energy began to wrap around Keverin, his power surging as he realized he was in deep trouble. An amplified wave of dark energy blasted straight at Zachary from Keverin, making him roar in agonizing pain. While he was distracted, a purple-fletched arrow hissed in from the side, finding its mark and burying itself deep into Zachary's shoulder. He gasped for air, the shock combined with the wound starting to drain his strength. Keverin stood over him, his sword raised high, preparing to deliver the finishing blow. Zachary looked up, his eyes wide as he realized just how much danger he was in. But he still managed to bring his weapon up to block, sparks flying everywhere as the two weapons locked together. Keverin couldn't believe it. This planet had only been integrated a month ago, yet this guy was already this strong. Zachary reached out, clamping his hand tightly around Keverin's head, causing the demon to let out a choked cry. Zachary's hand was like a vice, its raw strength making the noble scout tremble with terror. He swung his axe in a wide arc, aiming to end the fight right then and there. But Zachary realized he wouldn't be able to finish him off if the woman nearby kept harassing him with relentless arrows. Zachary paused his attack, tilting his head just in time as an arrow grazed his cheek. He knew that just a single moment of distraction against the demon in front of him would mean death. Zachary leaped backward to create distance, his breathing ragged. He wiped the blood from his face, his eyes never leaving his opponent. The two stood still for a moment, panting under the blood-red sky. Gormer was still clutching his stomach in the background, clearly still unconscious. Keverin admitted, "You're pretty impressive, for an ordinary human. I've heard about humans who crawled up from the bottom of society. The outcasts, the trash who weren't even supposed to survive the integration phase. Those too weak to deserve stepping onto the path of cultivation, small and insignificant like the mosquitoes I utterly despise." Keverin explained that people like Zachary were fighters to the point that even heaven had to acknowledge them. "We call them rebels, those who challenge fate. And it seems you have more potential than most of them. Keverin continued, "It's a shame that someone like you has to die here." But since Zachary dared to challenge him, Keverin had no choice but to bring his weapon down. He swung his massive greatsword in a horizontal sweep, forcing Zachary to duck and narrowly avoid it. Zachary slid across the rocky ground, trying to keep his distance from that terrifying dark energy stream. He lunged forward, his axe clashing once more against Keverin's armor. Zachary gritted his teeth, knowing that just one more mistake would. His axe slammed hard into Keverin's chest, but the force of the impact only created a terrifying shockwave, without making the demon flinch at all. Keverin stood firm as a mountain, his patterned armor glowing as it absorbed nearly all the force of the blow. Zachary was blasted back by the magical backlash, sliding across the rocky terrain and cursing the demon's superior armor. Refusing to stay down, Keverin roared and charged forward while Zachary prepared a fatal counterattack. As the demon rushed him, Zachary thought fast, grabbing the entire dining table and throwing it straight into Keverin's face, disrupting his momentum and throwing him into a blind rage. The demon's face twisted in sudden anger and confusion as he realized this human wouldn't be easy to take down. A heavy impact sent Keverin staggering backward through the ruins of his own camp. Giving him no chance to react, Zachary circled behind his back and unleashed an earth-shattering blow, sending the demon's body flying backward like a cannonball. Seeing their commander in danger, Azin shrieked in alarm while the battlefield was blanketed in smoke and dust. A terrifying crash echoed across the clearing as the magical explosion leveled a nearby tree. Keverin barked at Azin to focus, but that brief moment of distraction was enough for Zachary. Emerging from the dust cloud like a vengeful ghost, Zachary swung his weapon down in a fatal arc. Keverin's eyes widened in horror, cold sweat pouring down his forehead as he witnessed his subordinate's brutal death. Zachary slammed his axe into the ground with bone-crushing force, the impact shaking the entire area. Keverin swept his leg, throwing Zachary off balance, and immediately tackled him to the ground, pinning him down. The two wrestled on the dirt, each scrambling for an advantage to deliver the finishing blow. Even though Keverin had the upper hand, Zachary fought back by driving his fingers into the guy's face with raw, savage power. He tightened his grip, accompanied by a low growl from his throat. Keverin's cry of pain was muffled by the crushing hand. In absolute desperation, Keverin screamed for Kayla to shoot Zachary, no longer caring about his own safety in the face of death. Keverin drew a gleaming short dagger, the cold, sharp steel promising death. With a brutal thrust, he buried the blade straight into Zachary's side. Zachary let out a tragic cry, making the demon believe that ultimate victory was finally within reach. His eyes were bloodshot, locked onto the single goal of finishing off the human pinned beneath him. Zachary began to panic. His hand fumbled along the ground, searching for a weapon. Keverin, despite being covered in blood, continued to mock Zachary with a mad laugh, asking if this was the limit of a rebel's power. Zachary's hand finally wrapped around his axe handle, his resolve hardening with every breath. From above, the demon smirked, reveling in his imaginary advantage, his face a hollow mask of arrogance, completely unaware that they were both standing on the brink of a deadly stalemate. Zachary shut him up for good with one final, crushing blow, while a level-up notification flashed in the corner of his vision. The battle was over, leaving Zachary panting heavily among the bodies of his enemies. He tried to stand, but the arrow buried deep in his shoulder along with utter exhaustion made him stagger. Kayla stepped out from the shadows, her bow already drawn and aimed straight at Zachary's head. The demon archer stood coldly, her eyes promising a swift end to the human intruder. Zachary took another arrow to his body. The force of the impact made him cry out in pain as he struggled to keep his footing. He glared at her in silent hatred, his eyes still burning with an unquenchable, defiant spirit. Kayla warned him to stay still, the pain of losing Keverin only fueling the hatred inside her. Zachary stared back, his expression cold, bracing for whatever was coming next. In a split-second cut, the position of the axe blade instantly shifted from Zachary's side straight to the middle of Kayla's forehead. As the adrenaline began to fade, nothing was left but the bone-deep pain from his wounds. Despite the danger, Zachary began looting Keverin's body, hoping to find gear that would help him survive his next encounter. He checked the small, ornate pouch taken off Keverin, nodding at its surprising weight. As he opened the pouch, a burst of magical energy erupted, enveloping him in a warm golden light. Looking inside, he realized this was a spatial treasure holding a chaotic, massive hoard of miscellaneous items. The pouch seemed to defy physics, containing an entire room's worth of belongings within its tiny frame. Zachary found everything from fruit baskets to high-end furniture, making him wonder if this demon had been on a picnic. Amidst the junk, he spotted a collection of glowing, multicolored crystals that looked incredibly important. The system notified him that these were F-rank Nexus crystals, dense with cosmic primal energy. The interface explained that these crystals were essential for leveling up and post-combat recovery. He picked one up, feeling the primal power pulsing inside the gem like a miniature star in the palm of his hand. He checked his active quests and saw similar crystals listed as rewards for the anti-invasion battle. Zachary began absorbing the energy from the crystals, his body drinking in the power to heal his wounds. Half an hour later, Zachary had stripped the best items from Kevrin's gear, claiming the dark magic armor for himself. He tied the precious spatial pouch to his belt. This was a crucial piece of loot from his first major victory. A cold, satisfied smile appeared on his face as he evaluated his new gear, feeling much better prepared. Even though he was wearing the full armor looted from the demon, he still decided that Kevrin's giant greatsword was too unwieldy to use. He opened the system panel to double-check his quests and assess his progress, noticing that his quest advancement was actually looking pretty good. However, even after a month, that anti-intrusion expert quest still showed 0/3. Did he have to conquer this entire invasion first? His axe proficiency wasn't very high yet, either. If only it counted the number of enemies he had killed before accepting the quest. The road ahead was still very long. I've handled Gwilji and the Barghest Messenger, so that just leaves the imps and one other type I haven't encountered yet, plus the commander of this invasion force. I have no idea where the imp messenger is hiding, and I don't even know what the other messenger is. So right now, there's only one choice left, the invasion commander. Let's see how you like it, when you're the one getting invaded. Panic erupted right at the gates as demon soldiers rushed out frantically to respond. They had finally noticed the mess Zachary left outside. The gate guards, completely clueless, charged blindly toward the source of the chaos. They couldn't even imagine what was attacking them. A backup squad rushed through the teleportation gate, swords drawn. They expected to face an army, but only silence awaited them. The lead soldier skidded to a halt, his arrogance vanishing in an instant. The scene ahead was more horrifying than any report. He looked around in disbelief. The sheer efficiency and brutality of the slaughter left him speechless. Bodies littered the ground, twisted and broken right where they fell. Zachary retreated into the shadows, panting for air. His axe proficiency was going up, but a frontal assault on the general would still be suicide. He looked down at his body, covered in mud and dried blood. Raw power wouldn't get him through that gate. Every inch of his flesh ached. If he tried to storm the gate right now, he'd be torn to shreds before he even laid eyes on the general. With thousands of demons on the island, he needed a new plan. Picking them off one by one would take forever. He shifted his gaze toward the mountain. There was a steady stream of demons moving between the outpost and a higher cave. Whatever they were doing up there certainly wasn't good. It looked like they were scouting or mining something important. While some wandered around, the main force remained behind the walls, busy building a new city. Zachary watched them from the dark. He wondered if they were just mindless products of the system sent to test him, but as they laughed and joked with one another, reality became clear. They weren't NPCs, they were living, breathing creatures. He almost wondered if they even wanted to be here. Maybe they were trapped in this game just like he was. His eyes hardened as he brushed the thought aside. It didn't matter who they were or what they felt. They were on his island, defiling his home. Compassion had no place in a fight for survival. The only way he would talk to these invaders was through the sharp edge of his axe. That was the only diplomacy they understood. He leaned against a tree trunk, regaining his composure. He still had a family to find and a world to take back. If he had to become a monster to save his people, then so be it. He had crossed that line a long time ago. He decided to shift his targets. Hunting down the remaining lesser gods would weaken the general's grip before the final showdown. Once they were dead, he would come back for the invasion commander's head. He turned and vanished into the deep woods. Tracking them wasn't easy. It took him days to cross the island, checking every nook, cranny, cave, and high point. He continued his brutal work, his axe proficiency slowly climbing with each kill. Nearly 200 of them now. The hunt led him to the rugged coastline, where he slaughtered everything in his path. The body count kept rising. He searched through cramped, narrow caves, leaving a trail of corpses behind him. He was almost halfway to his goal. Zachary hauled himself up a sheer cliff face, his muscles screaming from the exertion. They had to be hiding somewhere around here. He finally reached the summit. The wind whipped violently against his cloak. The climb was well worth it for the view. He paused for a moment to catch his breath and wiped the sweat from his forehead. He had been looking in the wrong places before. From up here, the entire island stretched out before him. The red beam of light at the outpost looked tiny from this height. A flash of movement caught his eye. He narrowed his eyes, focusing on a nearby ridge. A massive beast was perched on a tree branch, its body cracked with glowing orange energy. It looked ancient and dangerous. Zachary stepped into the clearing, drawing its attention. He had found what he needed. The stone ape let out a terrified roar as Zachary used Judgment Eye to scan its stats. It belonged to the Azrazak race. He finally confirmed that the last two lesser gods were a minor demon and this pack of apes. It was time to move. The monster roared again, scorching heat billowing from its mouth. It wasn't alone. The entire pack swarmed down the ravine, their heavy footsteps making the ground shake. Zachary didn't hesitate. He charged ahead, meeting the first monster head-on. A powerful swing sent the ape flying. Zachary's proficiency surged with every slash. He hacked through another, the counter hitting 899. He was closing in on a massive milestone, and he could feel the coming shift. Zachary paused as the last beast fell. These stone apes were highly territorial. That was why he hadn't seen them until now. If he wanted to find the next lesser god, he had to push deeper into the mountains. High-pitched shrieks echoed through the ravine. More were coming, and they sounded pissed. The entire horde scrambled down the cliffside, their massive frames shaking the earth. They roared in unison, a wall of stone and fury rushing straight at him. They really didn't like strangers. Zachary gripped his axe handle and stood his ground. He was ready to see what these apes were really made of. He had been fighting non-stop ever since the system appeared, trapped in a cycle of blood and steel. He tore through the first wave. The counter cleared 900. The mindless violence was starting to become second nature. At first, the system meant nothing to him. Just numbers and death. 921, 939. He was so close enough to taste it. His mind drifted to his friends and family. Was anyone even left alive in the world he used to know? But the more he thought about it, the more he realized the old world was gone. Now, there was only the hunt. The more he fought, the more everything started to click. He was becoming something else. Each kill brought him closer to a truth he couldn't quite grasp yet. 982, 995. 998, 999. Just one more. A blinding flash of light exploded as he hit the mark. 1000. He did it. Axe proficiency, 1000. The world around him faded into a blinding white void. This wasn't the mountain anymore. Zachary found himself standing on a floating island. A grand, white city materialized before his eyes. He was inside a vision. He looked down from the cliff edge, his eyes widening in awe. This was far beyond anything he had ever seen. Below him, a massive army of stone and winged warriors marched through the clouds. It was a sight straight out of legend. Every single soldier radiated an overwhelming aura. He felt like a mere insect compared to them. Zachary stared, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it all. He could feel primal energy vibrating in the air. A figure appeared in the middle of the island. A man stood calmly amidst the chaos. He was a bald man wearing a modest robe, holding a simple iron axe. He looked like an ordinary woodcutter, but his aura was absolutely terrifying. The mysterious woodcutter took a deep breath, focusing his attention on a single spot. He was preparing for something. He raised his axe high above his head. Purple lightning crackled around his body as he channeled an immense power. With a slow, overhead chop, he let it loose. The movement was deliberate, carrying the weight of the entire world. The world shattered. A massive rift of purple energy tore through the sky and earth, splitting reality itself. Zachary watched in silence. This wasn't just a slash. This was the fundamental law of the universe being rewritten. The shockwave rippled through the vision, throwing everything into chaos. Its power was unimaginable. A system notification flashed in his mind. Absorbed gravity seed. He had achieved a breakthrough. The vision exploded in a final flash of light, and Zachary was thrown back into the real world. A giant crater was left right where he had been standing. Zachary panted, his hands trembling as he gripped his axe. The power he had just witnessed was still rushing through his veins. Zachary leaned his back against a tree trunk, completely exhausted. Around him lay the shattered bodies of the entire stone ape pack. He had heard about it in legends and myths, but he never thought it could be real, something he could actually touch. The system confirmed his new status, Gravity Seed Dao, a permanent buff to strength and endurance. This changed everything. He hadn't fully grasped its meaning yet, but the sensation of power was undeniable. He was no longer just a common survivor. Zachary gripped his axe handle, the energy from his breakthrough pulsing down his arms. It felt like he had finally caught a glimpse of a fundamental truth of the multiverse. In his mind, the image of that mysterious woodcutter replayed. The weight behind each of that man's slashes went far beyond the ordinary. He realized his previous techniques were full of holes. Compared to the vision, his slashes were a mere illusion, while the woodcutter's strike was the only thing that was real. Zachary focused, trying to channel that essence. He needed to feel the absolute weight behind every swing. He poured his fresh insight into his next strike. With an earth-shattering boom, a massive fissure tore through the ground, leveling the remaining stone apes in its path. Terrifying force. Zachary stood over the bodies, gasping for breath. Though this slash was incredibly powerful, he knew he had only scratched the surface. The man in the vision possessed something far greater. The image of that world-splitting slash still haunted him. It had a depth he hadn't grasped yet. Zachary looked at his reflection on the axe blade, his eyes burning with a new ambition. Could he ever reach that level of power? The mysterious woodcutter remained a silent, steady target in his mind, a benchmark for what could be achieved. A system notification popped up with a title that made him freeze. Child of Tao, the third person in the world to achieve enlightenment and create a Tao seed. Zachary's eyes widened as the words third person sank in. He wasn't the first. 2 others had gone before him. He thought about the world outside the island. The tutorial phase had ended for everyone a month ago. Out there, the muscular survivor and the others must be fighting their own battles. He wondered how many natural-born geniuses like that blonde girl were out there, people who were naturally perfectly suited for this new cultivation world. Had the government started to rebuild yet? Were there large organizations seizing territory while he was still isolated here? The thought gnawed at him. He had given it his all because he believed he was leading the pack. Knowing he had been surpassed by 2 others stung his pride. He checked his status, level 28, Gravity Seed Dao. His strength and endurance had skyrocketed, but it still wasn't enough. Looking out over the devastated mountainside, Zachary resolved to push himself even harder. When the dust finally settles, only the strongest will dictate the order of the new world. Zachary narrowed his eyes, checking his progress on the system interface. He had been so busy surviving that he almost forgot his current tally. 9,952 logs out of 10,000. Zachary Atwood took a brief rest, leaning his back against a massive fallen tree. He was only a few chops away from his goal. Meanwhile, deep within the demon base, the weapon racks stood ready for a war that was eating away at lives. Agres, one of the demon leaders, stared in astonishment at the latest update. The messenger reported that Keverin was dead, likely killed by the exact same mysterious group that had eliminated the other lesser gods. Agres tried to keep a straight face as the soldier suggested they were up against an elite squad of natives. Standing behind his giant vanguard Ilver, Agres couldn't help but burst out laughing. He was ecstatic that his rival had finally kicked the bucket. He faked a cough, saying he must be allergic to something in the planet's atmosphere. He admitted it was a bit of a shame to lose Kayla in the chaos. She used to spy on Keverin for him, but he wasn't going to lose any sleep over it. He ordered a squad to go check on Cinderain and Queequeg, maintaining his role as a concerned commander. Deep down, he only hoped the natives and his remaining rivals would slaughter each other so he could seize absolute control for himself. Ilver warned him that he was laughing too much, but Agres just told him to shut up. Back in the deep woods, Zachary resumed his work, pushing the log count to 9,999. He wiped the sweat from his face, focusing on the final task. He aimed his axe for the last chop. The counter hit 10,000, and a terrifying surge of energy exploded from the log. Purple lightning wrapped around him as his body absorbed the cosmic reward, pushing his power to new heights. With his boosted stats, he headed toward the mountain peaks where the energy gathered more intensely. He began a vertical climb, his fingers digging deep into the rough stone. He scaled the cliff face with ease, his body feeling lighter and more powerful than ever before. Reaching a sturdy ledge, he looked down and spotted a group of creatures gathering below. He let out a shout to signal his presence. They all raised their heads to look up at once. The pack of stone apes shrieked and charged straight up the mountain. Zachary didn't budge. His hands were itching to test his new power. He tightened his fist around the axe handle. The blade began to hum with a brilliant, radiant light. The apes leaped through the air, closing the distance with a massive bound. Zachary drew his axe back, cosmic energy gathering around his arm as he prepared to strike. He whispered his primary skill, slash. The axe head glowed white-hot and expanded as it cut through the air. A massive shockwave tore through the mountainside, wiping out the pack of monkeys ahead in the blink of an eye. The remaining ones were blasted backward, their bodies unable to withstand the terrifying force. He continued his climb, confident that this mountain range was hiding something far more important than a few stone monkeys. He was absolutely sure of it. The energy in the air was so thick it couldn't possibly be natural. The peaks above were shrouded in a strange, glowing mist that pulsed rhythmically with power. The creatures here were different too, stronger, more disciplined, and acting like coordinated patrol squads. Observing from a crevice in the rock, he realized these monkeys were reminiscent of the humanoid demons he had faced before. They moved in tight packs, patrolling the area with a clear purpose. Each group was led by a larger commander. He continued clearing them out, leaving a trail of shattered stone in his wake. Even these elite squads could no longer block his path. Day after day, he climbed from one peak to another, scouring every nook and cranny of the mountain range. As the sun set, he stood alone on the mountain peak, having cleared the area, but the next low gods remained completely missing in action. Zachary narrowed his eyes, focusing on the deep abyss below. He had spent days searching the peaks, only to finally realize he had been looking in the wrong place. The low gods weren't at the top. He looked down into a massive crater and spotted a glowing white tree. That was where the energy was actually concentrating. Without hesitation, he stepped off the cliff edge and began descending into the valley. As he drew closer, he maintained high alertness, his mind constantly cycling through potential strategies. But then he froze completely, sensing a massive wave of energy. The tree was even more impressive up close, pulsing with veins of deep purple and crimson energy. He couldn't believe its scale. It looked like it had been growing there for hundreds of years. And then he saw him, a level 58 stone monkey low god, sitting completely motionless at the base of the tree. The monster's eyes snapped open, flashing with a dangerous golden light. Zachary wasted no time, immediately launching an aerial ambush and swinging his massive axe down with all his might. However, the low god was faster. Catching the enchanted axe blade with his bare hands, the impact cracked the ground beneath their feet. Zachary was stunned, having never seen anything simply catch his axe like that. Cinder Mane growled low, his vice-like grip tightening around the metal blade. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, completely unfazed by the human's weapon. Suddenly, a burst of energy erupted from the low god, forcing Zachary to brace himself. Zachary realized he was in over his head. His axe was stuck tight, and he was losing his leverage. With an explosive shove, Cinder Mane sent him flying backward. Zachary skidded across the stone floor of the crater, digging his heels into the dirt to halt his momentum. He had to admit, this was a real opponent. Even though his strength was 3 times higher than his last boss fight, he was still pushed back. He tightened his grip on the axe handle. With his new class and the Tao Seed, he should have had the upper hand, but this monkey was just built different. Looking at his opponent, he knew this battle would be 10 times harder than the fight against Val. He took a cautious step forward, regaining his stance. Cinder Mane matched his movement, each footstep heavy and deliberate. Zachary suddenly accelerated, his body becoming a blur as he charged forward. But the low god didn't wait for him to arrive and proactively rushed into the fray. The monster slammed his foot into the ground, channeling cosmic energy into the earth itself. Massive, sharp stone spikes erupted from the bottom of the crater, aiming straight for Zachary's chest. The stone cracked and splintered under the pressure of the low god's magic. Zachary reacted instantly, his axe becoming a blur as it shattered the obstacles. He leapt over the remaining debris, his eyes locked onto his target. He lunged down from above once more, but Cinder Mane moved to intercept him. It thrust its razor-sharp hands directly at the protagonist's face, but Zachary parried with the shaft of his axe, and followed up with a heavy punch straight to its face. However, the monkey instantly countered with a claw slash, drawing blood from Zachary. The battle grew increasingly chaotic, drops of red blood splattering across the dark wood of the tree trunk. They exchanged dozens of blows in the blink of an eye, blocking, dodging, and striking in a frantic dance of death. The white flowers on the energy tree were now stained with blood. As the fight escalated, Zachary broke into a high-speed sprint, a blur moving along the crater walls. He and Cinder Mane collided again, moving so fast they left trails of light in the air. Zachary noticed something. The monster wasn't just fighting, it was repositioning itself to always stay between him and the glowing tree. A dark smile spread across Zachary's face as he realized the monkey's fatal flaw. He didn't even need to target the low god, he just had to target its precious tree. Zachary channeled all his strength into an overhead chop, banking on the monster's protective instincts. Just as he expected, the low god threw himself in front of the axe blade, taking the full force of the blow right on his back to save the tree. Zachary poured everything into the slash, his eyes burning with ruthlessness. He mocked the monster's desperation, thrilled that his gamble had paid off perfectly. The axe blade bit deep into the low god's flesh, eliciting a savage, painful roar that echoed throughout the valley. Cinder Mane's fingers still clawed at the metal, his hands trembling in agonizing pain. Zachary couldn't help but respect the low god's resolve. The monster knew exactly what it would cost and was willing to die for it, but respect didn't mean mercy. Zachary pushed harder, the clashing energies creating a blinding light. The sound of searing flesh and grinding bone echoed as the low god desperately tried to hold his ground. With one final, ear-splitting roar, Cinder Mane cried out, calling toward the surrounding mountains. The sound traveled for miles, an eerie signal echoing through the rugged peaks. Zachary's heart sank. He knew this roar. It was a call for reinforcements, identical to the one the lower-level stone monkeys used to make. Before he could deliver the finishing blow, a boulder flying out of nowhere struck Zachary squarely in the head, sending him staggering. Zachary rolled across the stone floor, his momentum stopping near the edge of the crater. He stumbled to his feet, blood streaming from a fresh gash on his forehead. This had been his best chance, and he was losing it. He knew if he retreated now, he might never get the chance to face the low god one-on-one again. But when he raised his head, the horizon was already flooded with a sea of stone-skinned monsters rushing toward him. He cursed under his breath, knowing that charging back into that chaos wasn't brave, it was suicide. The ground began to shake under the weight of hundreds of stone monkeys, their golden eyes flashing like 1,000 tiny stars. Realizing the battle was temporarily lost, Zachary turned and fled toward a nearby cliff to find cover. He knew he wasn't in any condition to fight a war of attrition across the entire mountain range. Every step was a struggle, his body screaming in protest from his injuries. The thundering footsteps of the horde were right on his heels, and his cosmic energy reserves were nearly depleted. He spotted a cave entrance ahead, realizing the commotion he caused had likely alerted every predator within a 5-mile radius. He dove into the darkness of the cave as the sounds of the chase echoed off the cliffs. Zachary skidded to a halt, dust swirling around his boots. He looked back and saw the first wave of the horde had reached the cave entrance, their roars filling the cramped space. He gasped for air as a crazy, desperate plan began to form in his head. He knew it was a gamble, but it was the only option left. If he wanted to live long enough to settle the score with the low gods, he had to change the rules of the game. He gripped his axe handle, channeling the last bit of his energy into the blade, needing a strike powerful enough to bring the whole place down. With a primal roar, he slammed his axe into the cave ceiling. The impact triggered a massive explosion of rock and dust. Huge boulders came crashing down, crushing the lead stone monkeys and sealing the cave entrance with a deafening thud. Zachary stood in the darkness, surrounded by dust and shadows. As the cave-in settled, the roars of the horde were finally silenced. Zachary found himself trapped in a narrow, sealed tunnel, surrounded by absolute darkness. The young man began to bandage his wounds, frustrated that despite his new strength, he had still been pushed to his limits. He scanned the rubble, knowing that at least one of the final 2 low gods was very close on the other side. He groaned softly as he stood up, guessing that this place must connect to the demon mines he had seen earlier. He gripped his axe and began to squeeze through a narrow opening to find a way out. The path led him deeper and deeper into the heart of the mountain. He stepped into a vast cavern glowing with a strange, bioluminescent blue light. When he touched the cave wall, he could feel the cosmic energy vibrating right against his palm. With such a dense concentration of energy, he was certain the 4th low god was hiding deep within. He continued his journey, scanning every shadow for any sign of his target. An unexpected sound from up ahead made him freeze in his tracks. He quickly pressed himself against the rock wall, moving as silently as a ghost. Peeking around the corner, he spotted something moving in the blue light. It was an imp. He knew if a small fry like this was here, its master couldn't be far behind. The imp was giggling to itself, busy gathering glowing crystals from the cavern floor. He watched the little monster hop around, completely unaware of his presence. The imp paused for a moment, scanning its surroundings with a wide grin. It was hoarding a pile of Nexus crystals, a resource so valuable that an ordinary monster shouldn't even have access to it. Zachary was surprised to see these things were even being utilized, but it also gave him an idea. He planned to track the imp back to its den to find the low god's lair. But before he could move, a massive dark shadow lunged out from the gloom. A giant cave lizard snapped its jaws shut, catching the imp midair. He could only stand and watch as his entire plan to track the creature was swallowed right before his eyes. The lizard was a colossal beast, its body covered in dangerous-looking glowing spots, and it devoured the poor imp in just one messy, disgusting gulp. Now, the monster turned its yellow eyes toward the much larger meal standing in the tunnel. It charged with a ferocious hiss, leaping straight at him. He didn't even blink, splitting the monster in half instantly with a clean, powerful swing of his axe. He sighed, shaking the lizard blood off his weapon. He knelt down to pick up the Nexus crystals the imp had been carrying. There was no reason to leave good loot behind. He began scanning the cavern floor for any tracks the little creature might have left. A faint, foul blue mist began to rise from the ground. Zachary covered his nose, nearly gagging on the horrific stench of imp decay. But luckily, the smell was easy to track. He just needed to follow the trail of rot through the tunnels. A sharp, rhythmic metallic sound echoed from ahead. It was the unmistakable sound of a pickaxe striking stone, distant yet crystal clear. He had found the source. A group of demons was hard at work mining the cliffside. Zachary's possessive instincts flared up. They were mining his Nexus crystals, and he had no intention of sharing. Zachary heard the demons growling, the sound echoing through the dark tunnel. Realizing they were closer than he thought, he prepared for a fight. With no cover left, he decided to strike first. A group of purple demon miners was trudging through the cave, exhaustion weighing heavily on their shoulders. They whispered among themselves, complaining about how their overseer treated them like slaves. One of them brushed off his companion's warning, thinking they were far enough away to speak freely. He continued leading them through the bioluminescent tunnels, still bitter about being accused of stealing crystals. He smiled sinisterly, planning to find a rich vein and pocket a few stones for himself this time. Suddenly, he stopped, a cold dread washing over his entire body. His companions began to tremble as they realized they weren't the only living things in the dark. Before they could even turn around, Zachary's axe came down in a silent, brutal strike. The remaining miners could only watch in horror as their comrade was cleaved in two in an instant. Panic gripped them as Zachary lunged at the next one, forcing them to scatter in a desperate bid for survival. Zachary's eyes burned with an intense light, his face splattered with demon blood. He stomped forward, the sound of breaking bones echoing through the silent cavern. Every movement he made unleashed a surge of energy as he hunted down the survivors. He cornered a red-haired miner, who could only groan in pain upon being captured. One final, heavy slash ended the struggle before the demon could even resist. Another miner tried to flee, desperately hoping to make it back to the main chamber. He screamed a warning to his master Quaigo, but a thrown axe blade pierced through his shoulder, pinning him to the cave wall with a heavy thud. Zachary leapt through the air, closing the distance with terrifying speed. The miner could only reach out one last time before his life was snuffed out. Another clean slash, and the mining tunnel fell back into silence. Zachary landed in a pool of blood, his boots rustling softly in the absolute stillness. He exhaled slowly, knowing his stealth operation had almost been blown. He scanned the area, hoping he had eliminated them fast enough to avoid triggering an alarm. He moved toward the light, his expression growing colder as he approached his target. As he peeked into the next cavern, he realized he had accidentally stumbled right into the enemy's command center. The massive cavern was packed with imps and elite soldiers gathered around a bubbling cauldron of poison. The Zers and a demon shield knight spotted the intruder immediately, shocked that a human could make it this deep. The multi-eyed imps scattered in a panic around the boiling cauldron, their faces twisted in confusion. Fugo, the level 44 low god, rose from his robes, his four eyes locking onto Zachary with murderous intent. Zachary didn't flinch. He walked straight into the center of the room, ready to end the invasion. The low god let out a piercing shriek, releasing a swirling vortex of purple energy. A massive wave of fire roared through the cavern, turning the air into a literal furnace. Zachary skidded across the stone floor, narrowly avoiding the bulk of the magical flames. He didn't wait for a second attack. He charged straight into the melee. His axe slammed into the demon knight's massive shield, sending sparks flying with a ringing metallic clash. He poured all his weight into the strike, causing the heavy metal shield to crack under the pressure. His eyes shone with absolute focus, searching for a single opening to finish the match. Zachary barely dodged a lightning-fast slash as Azur's lunged in for the kill. Fugo screamed at the assassin to finish the job, his four eyes wide with desperation. Zachary didn't hesitate, abruptly turning his attack on the Zers and burying his axe deep to eliminate the threat. Losing his bodyguard, the low god roared in pain and unleashed a savage wave of purple energy. Zachary spun around just in time to see the entire cavern flooded by the low god's unstable power. He leapt high, using the massive corpse of the demon shield knight as a springboard. Purple flames roared around him, threatening to consume him as he hung midair. He landed heavily back on the ground, his mind reeling as he realized this was no ordinary fire. He observed Fugo carefully, realizing this low god relied on keeping his distance just like the low-level imps. If he wanted to win, he had to close the gap and force the demon into close quarters. He charged through the flames, the heat searing his flesh as he pressed forward. With a roar, Zachary leapt toward the low god, his axe poised to deliver the final blow. The clashing energies created a blinding flash, generating a shockwave that shook the cavern walls. Zachary tore through the thick, swirling smoke, searching for any opening in the low god's defenses. He realized the low god was desperate enough to burn everything down, including himself. His eyes fell on the bubbling green cauldron, its toxic fumes making his head spin. Fugo wasn't done yet. He brandished his staff, unleashing another concentrated blast. The explosion rocked the ground near Zachary, sending rock fragments flying everywhere. Zachary spun with incredible speed, his movements becoming a blur as he dodged the radiating blasts. Another explosion echoed through the cave as the low god's power continued to surge. Zachary gritted his teeth, realizing he had been backed into a corner with no easy way out. He faced Fugo head-on, the low god standing before the toxic cauldron like a twisted priest. The demon smiled sinisterly, his multi-eyed face twisting into a terrifyingly confident grin. He unleashed one final, massive blast of purple fire, intending to incinerate Zachary on the spot. Fugo's smile froze as he saw a golden light emerge from the center of the inferno. Zachary charged straight through the flames, the energy from his armor forming a protective shield. He recalled the previous owner of the breastplate and the brutal battle he had gone through to claim it. The armor possesses a special ability to block and counter heavy attacks. He realized this defensive mechanism worked effectively against magical fire as well. He emerged from the thick smoke like a blazing meteor, axe raised high above his head. He swung it down with crushing force, the impact shattering the ground and kicking up a massive cloud of dust. Zachary stood tall, his hair completely singed away by the heat, but his will remained unshaken. He coughed violently, blood welling from his mouth as his body endured the pressure of the explosion. The thick, pungent smoke continued to blanket the air, stinging his eyes and lungs. He realized the smoke from the toxic cauldron was starting to affect his focus and coordination. He saw the low god preparing to flee, attempting to fly into the darker areas of the cave. Zachary tightened his grip on the axe handle, refusing to let his target escape. Having come this far, with one final primal roar, he threw himself into a desperate charge. He channeled every last bit of his remaining energy into a terrifying slash. He glared at the fleeing demon, his eyes flashing with unwavering golden light. The axe blade swept through the air with a sharp crack, abruptly breaking the sound barrier. The blade bit deep, hacking through the low god with clean, fatal efficiency. The low god's corpse slammed onto the floor with a wet thud, and a system notification confirmed that Zachary had leveled up once again. Zachary dropped to one knee, coughing violently as the green toxic smoke from the cauldron seared his lungs, while a quest update flashed into his field of vision. Surrounded by the shrill, mocking laughter of the low-level imps, he realized he needed to leave this room before the smoke finished what the low god couldn't. He tried to cover his face, but the pungent air was unavoidable, blurring his vision and rapidly draining his strength. Battling the numbness spreading through his limbs, Zachary focused what little energy he had left on the source of the poison. He realized that if he didn't neutralize the toxic cauldron, the entire cave system would become a massive, inescapable death trap. Nearby, the corpse of the defeated low god sizzled on the floor as the energy in the cave began to swirl wildly out of control. Zachary forced himself to his feet and stumbled toward the exit, his silhouette flickering in the fading light of the teleportation portal. He staggered through the mist, his vision spinning as the inhaled toxin took full effect on his body. His breath caught, his knees buckled, and his final reserve of strength deserted him after the brutal battle. With a heavy crash, Zachary collapsed into the darkness of the tunnel, blue smoke swirling around his unconscious form. He had no idea how much time had passed before Zachary finally, slowly regained consciousness. He tried to push himself up, but a sudden wave of nausea hit him, causing his body to collapse back to the ground. Zachary thought to himself, his voice shaking, "Damn, what did that messenger brew? How did I end up vomiting this violently when I didn't even drink it? Whatever, it's mine now. These things won't help right now. Got to get out of here first. I don't know how long I've been out, some demons might come check on the situation." With that in mind, Zachary began to slowly crawl out of the area. Not long after, he encountered a monster lizard and slammed his axe into its head. After taking down the beast, he approached the flask hanging from a demon's hip. The corpse was still lying in the exact same spot. Good, that meant no other demons had passed through here yet. Without a second thought, he hurriedly grabbed the flask and chugged the water inside. Once he finished, he leaned back comfortably against the cave wall to rest. "Thanks for the drink." He muttered his thanks and looked down at the armor he was wearing. "Lucky I had this armor. Its counter ability saved my life. But the energy pool powering this skill is drained and recovering very slowly. Looks like it can only be used once a day. With that thought, he pulled a crystal out of his spatial pocket. Didn't expect this, but this crystal needs to feed more cosmic energy into the armor to charge it, just in case I run into more enemies. Instantly, energy from the crystal flooded into Zachary, making him feel noticeably better. Much better. Finally feel like I can move without wanting to throw up. He then opened the system interface to check his stats. I have a few unallocated attribute points. What the hell? Why can't I dump them into strength? Have I hit the cap already? But if so, that's just ridiculous. There's no way 175 is the cap for the multiverse. That man must definitely be way stronger than 175. No way. Or is it because my level is still too low? Does the cap scale with level? Or maybe it's the race, or the class. Both are currently F rank, but I have no clue how to upgrade them. After thinking for a bit, the protagonist got a headache, so he pushed the thought aside. Whatever, forget it. If I lose attribute points over this, I'll go insane. And why hasn't a single point gone into luck? It only goes up because of titles. I hate this system. He sighed heavily. Meanwhile, deep in the mines, a group of workers was heading to turn in their harvested crystals. Among the three, one guy wouldn't stop shaking, prompting the captain to warn him, "Stop shaking. It can smell fear." The other guy replied tremulously, "I can't do it. I know for a fact I didn't meet the quota today." The captain simply reassured him, "It's fine. It's here." On the opposite side, the mine overseer and her two subordinates were approaching. She glanced left and right, inspecting the area thoroughly. This made the workers feel more pressured than ever. But very quickly, she held out her hand to demand, "How much are we turning in today?" The captain hurriedly handed her the bag he was holding. The overseer silently inspected the contents for a moment, then poured all the crystals into another bag. Once done, she noted down the amount and called for the next person. The brown-haired guy stepped up, trembling. "Overseer, I." On this end, the overseer seemed to have already guessed what he wanted to say and cut him off. "Hand over today's batch. I don't need to hear your excuses. The Ashura clan has been blessed with this mine. I will not allow you to waste it. Every single day of delay gives other invaders time to consolidate their forces, time to overrun us and seize this mine. Is that what you want? Are you traitors to the clan?" She used the pen in her hand to lift the worker's chin and continued, "Do you know how I handle traitors?" At that thought, the worker fell to his knees in a panic. "Please don't. I swear I'll never come up short again. Please just give me one more chance. Please." Unfortunately, those pleas were not accepted by the overseer. "Let him be an example to anyone who contemplates betraying us." Behind her, a soldier raised his sword high, intending to execute the worker. But then he seemed to sense something and turned his gaze aside. Sure enough, up above, Zachary had been standing there silently for God knows how long. The overseer shrieked, "We're under attack." From above, countless lizard monsters began to appear. The blonde guy took the opportunity to drag his companions away and escape. Seeing this, the two soldiers also rushed in to eliminate the monsters. Standing from high above, Zachary silently observed it all. How convenient. That woman looks like she's the one in charge here. Taking her down will definitely slow down the demon's mining progress. But more importantly, that bag is definitely full of Nexus crystals. It looks like that pack of lizards needs me to lend a hand. Back in the battle, just as a soldier was about to finish off a lizard, a rock flew in from a distance, striking him squarely in the head. The rock thrower was, of course, Zachary. Perfect time to strike it rich. With that said, he dove straight down. He plummeted like a meteor, crashing right into the battlefield and confronting the female overseer face to face. The female overseer snapped around in shock, growling to ask who dared interrupt her work. She spotted Zachary and immediately ordered her bodyguards to prioritize killing him first before dealing with the monsters. A soldier obeyed the order and rushed to attack the protagonist from behind, but he had noticed him long ago. A clean, powerful slash pierced through the soldier's defense with terrifying precision and zero effort. The bodyguard fell backward in agony, dropping his weapon as chaos erupted. Seeing her unit fail so miserably, the female overseer decided to take matters into her own hands. She unleashed a barrage of dark, thorny tentacles, whipping them violently through the air toward him. Zachary stood his ground, preparing to face the storm. As the magical vines lashed out like a tempest, he swung his axe in a defensive arc, creating a vortex that repelled the attack. Chopping through the magical projectiles, he prepared to take the fight directly to the female overseer. She unleashed a powerful surge of magical energy, her eyes flashing with dangerous focus. Zachary watched in astonishment as she deployed a shimmering shield, reflecting his very own defensive skill. Realizing his signature move was being turned against him, he hurriedly dodged the backlash. The collision between the two forces generated a massive shockwave, forcing him to dig his heels into the ground. He barely managed to repel the feedback energy loop. Feeling the terrifying weight of his own power, the vines wrapped around his legs, trying to pin him down while he was struggling to keep his balance. The female overseer pressed her advantage, knowing he couldn't counterattack without risking getting hit by his own power. A sudden sharp pain flared up as he was struck, his armor failing to block the attack. He gritted his teeth through the pain, absolutely determined not to let the female overseer see him break or falter. He poured all his remaining will into it, preparing to turn the tables in this brutal struggle, shattering the magical shield with a desperate strike, and narrowly avoiding the female overseer's next fatal blow. But the thorny vines instantly lunged forward, wrapping tightly around his body with suffocating pressure. He thrashed around trying to break free as the magical strands constricted, restricting his movements and draining his energy. The female overseer mocked him, calling him a petty thief, clearly gloating over his pathetic, bound state, and bragged that she would deliver him to her superiors, confident that her trap had finally succeeded. Zachary ignored the provocations, his eyes still burning with an intense light, resolute despite being severely restrained. She continued to boast that he couldn't touch her, believing she had completely controlled the situation. Suddenly, he channeled a surge of primal power, slicing through the vines with blinding speed. The smug grin on the female overseer's face vanished instantly as the axe blade closed the distance. He brought down a heavy, decisive chop, shattering her composure and forcing her onto the defensive. Zachary initiated a brutal aerial assault, but an elite bodyguard abruptly rushed in, attacking from the flank. The terrifying collision sent the bodyguard crashing down with no chance of recovery. The female overseer watched in horror, wondering how a mere human could possess such strength. He maintained relentless pressure, diving into the fray with the terrifying aura of a monster. She realized his strength was on par with a general's, marking him as a threat that had to be eliminated. Desperate to stop him, she decided to neutralize him before he could cause any more chaos. She channeled her entire magical reserve, unleashing one final explosive blow, taking a massive gamble to halt him. Zachary glared at her with a cold gaze, refusing to back down against the oncoming surge of power. Their strengths collided in a massive explosion, shaking the cave walls with chaotic primal energy. Standing amidst the settling dust, he noticed that the miners had already fled the scene. With his cover blown, Zachary realized the demons would soon overrun the entire mine. He decided to completely abandon the stealthy route and focus all his efforts on hunting down the final low god. Taking a moment to bandage his wounds, he found a glimmer of hope amidst the recent chaos. Reaching into his loot bag, he pulled out the prized item he had risked his life to secure. The precious Nexus crystals were finally in his hands, making the dangerous raid entirely worth it. He shifted his attention to the durable demon attire that had survived the terrifying explosion. Realizing the fabric possessed a rare reflective magic similar to his own high-grade armor, he paused for a moment to consider the absurdity of wearing it. Weighing his pride against survival, he decided practicality always beats appearances and pulled the red dress onto his body. Fully equipped with his bizarre new outfit, he prepared to finish the job. Zachary decided to double back through the collapsed tunnel section, hoping the local threats had dispersed. Checking his interface, he noticed a new notification pop up. The system revealed a new class quest, requiring him to travel 1,000 kilometers on foot. He viewed the distance as nothing more than a minor challenge, confident he could complete it quickly. Suddenly his vision shifted as a mysterious high-level dynamic quest triggered without warning. The system projected a grand objective, urging him to triumph and seize power, while a brilliantly glowing ancient tree materialized in his mind, exuding a massive aura of ancient energy. He witnessed a ripe fruit fall from a branch, the illusion feeling almost too real. Returning to reality, he gasped for air, his will hardening into a single goal. He swore to claim that prize for himself. Even as the demon army tightened its perimeter, a massive pillar of light signaled the appearance of the legendary Ascension Fruit, leaving the general in awe as he realized the true value of this treasure. He recalled the ferocious beast that had blocked his search parties for years. He finally understood that the beast was simply guarding the tree until the fruit fully ripened. It turned out the monkey had played them all while keeping the prize for himself. The general watched in disbelief, wondering how the beast could have broken free from his mind control. Infuriated by the betrayal, he cursed the situation as his plans fell into disarray. He swore to make the beast pay for the dark, crackling energy it was radiating. Ordering the regiments to mobilize, he prepared to lead his troops toward the mountain. He turned to his cousin, ready to discuss the implications of this sudden divine proclamation. The general roared back at his cousin, firmly asserting that rank stands above bloodlines. Ryle mocked the general for losing control of the beasts he unleashed, enjoying the irony of the situation. He gleefully thought about the elders hearing this news. The general tried to silence him, declaring that he would handle the beast matter personally. Ryle just laughed out loud, insisting the general was utterly powerless to fix this mess. A sudden wave of power erupted between the two. As tensions reached a boiling point, the general warned him about violating clan laws and angering their grandfather. Ryle remained calm and arrogant, implying that their grandfather was already fully aware of the current failure. He revealed that the elders had only appointed the general because they doubted his true capabilities. An official decree was handed down, stripping the general of his command due to his lack of experience. The general snatched the decree, anger surging as he read the contents. He stared at the document in disbelief, realizing his authority had been completely stripped away. A pure rage consumed him, his eyes flashing with a dangerous and unstable magical intensity. Ryle maintained his calm and haughty demeanor, suggesting his cousin retreat to safety while he handled the situation. He left the general with a bitter farewell, clearly relishing his new position of power. Leaving with a smug smile, Ryle prepared to seize the legendary prize for himself. Meanwhile, Zachary observed the entire drama from a distance. His eyes locked onto the far-off target, knowing a direct assault was suicide, and he began to plan his strategy more carefully. The system updated his quest log, emphasizing the limited time remaining for the fruit to ripen. With the location revealed, he prepared to bypass the demons to claim the ultimate prize. Zachary realized the system was driving a large-scale confrontation between factions. He knew the demons and the guardian beast wouldn't share the reward without a bloody battle. Watching the chaos unfold, he wondered if challenging them for the fruit was pure madness. Though it was clearly a dangerous suicide mission, he felt he had no other choice. The legendary ancient tree was glowing with extraordinary power, signaling a quest he couldn't ignore. He was determined not to let the rare treasure fall into enemy hands. With his mind locked onto the prize, he prepared to strike at the perfect moment. Knowing the fruit needed another 12 hours to ripen, he decided to keep his cool. Rushing in now would only make him a target for the surrounding demon army. While the demons marched toward the mountain, he planned to outmaneuver them all himself. Zachary knew he had to stay hidden until the very last second to snatch the fruit. He watched the demons from the shadows, hoping to take out the general while he was distracted. This was a massive gamble. Failure was not an option if he wanted to survive. He moved through the dark terrain, fully aware that his entire mission hinged on this single moment. Facing overwhelming odds, he kept a confident smile, ready for whatever came next. The ground shook as he crossed the perilous mountain path. Approaching the legendary prize, he gasped for breath, sensing the massive energy radiating from the fruit as it neared maturity. Chaos erupted nearby as demon forces engaged the guardian beast in a bloody battle. He watched the massive creatures tear through the landscape, their roars echoing across the valley. The ancient tree glowed with an otherworldly light, signaling that the time for his final strike was drawing near. The battlefield exploded as demons and stone monkeys clashed in a fierce, all-out war. Zachary observed the slaughter, noticing that while the demons temporarily held the upper hand, the outcome remained uncertain. He realized the demons were burning through their energy reserves, while the monkey pack continued to fight tirelessly. These stone guardians were incredibly persistent on their home turf, turning the entire mountain into a chaotic death trap. Watching the chaos unfold, Zachary knew this was his perfect opportunity to act. A sudden shift in the air caught his attention, pulling his gaze toward a powerful aura. The general had finally entered the fray, cutting through enemy lines with terrifying ease and precision. Zachary smirked. It was sheer luck that the high-value target had stupidly left the safety of the fortress. Seizing the moment, he leaped into action, hoping his lack of horns would make it easier to stay hidden. He dashed into the battlefield with lethal intent, ready to strike when the chaos reached its peak. Zachary jumped right into the heart of the chaos, his bizarre outfit instantly drawing the attention of a nearby squad of demon guards. They were clearly confused by his appearance, finding it hard to believe a human would wear such strange gear. The lead demon demanded to know his identity, but Zachary kept his head down to avoid useless talk. His silence only made the guards more suspicious, and they glared at him with growing hostility. He tried to keep his cool and kept moving, leaping forward hoping to slip past without a fight. The guard finally recognized him as a human, shattering the illusion and forcing the situation to escalate. Arrows flew toward him, but Zachary swatted them away effortlessly, his combat instincts sharper than ever. He warned them that they should have just let him pass, as his patience had officially run out. Channeling energy into his weapon, he prepared to unleash a devastating attack on his enemies. He launched himself into the air, closing the distance to deliver a crushing blow to the demons. Zachary unleashed a brutal slash, completely catching the demon guard off guard with his speed. The soldier was stunned, barely able to react to the sudden and overwhelming force. Moving like a blur, he cleared the path with a series of precise, energy-infused movements. He left his enemies behind in a cloud of dust, his aura exuding a power they couldn't match. Checking the system, he realized there were less than 20 minutes left before the fruit matured. He decided to save his strength, leaping past unnecessary fights until he could secure the prize. Crossing the dark forest, he noticed a strange, chilling silence hanging over the entire valley. The battlefield ahead was a mess, with energy crackling around the glowing, legendary ancient tree. He could feel the environment being drained, as if the tree were sucking up all the cosmic energy in the area. Witnessing the fierce battle, he prepared to intervene before the defenders lost the final fight. A demon guard froze, sensing something was wrong as he gripped his sword in the darkness. His eyes widened as he suddenly realized he wasn't the only living thing in the misty forest. Before he could react, a swift, completely unexpected slash came out of the shadows. Zachary knew he couldn't hide forever, so he stepped out to face the melee. As the fruit entered its final stage, he had to push toward the center of the conflict. He decided to flank the west side of the battlefield to avoid the heaviest concentration of enemy forces. Speeding forward with a burst of acceleration, he tore through the darkness like a flash of lightning. The system clock counted down to just 10 minutes, signaling that the ultimate reward was within reach. He wove through the massive combatants, dodging heavy strikes along the way. As he neared the tree, he caught his breath and came to a complete stop. Stunned by an unexpected sight, Zachary discovered a system-generated force field protecting the legendary ancient tree from the surrounding chaos. He realized this barrier would likely collapse the exact moment the fruit reached full maturity. With only 6 minutes left on the clock, the tension in the valley reached a boiling point. A high-ranking demon commander stepped forward, locking eyes with the beast guarding the prize. The two powerhouses clashed in a blur of motion, making the ground beneath them shake. The demon commander flashed a cruel smile, clearly enjoying the adrenaline of the brutal fight. They traded heavy blows, their weapons colliding with enough force to send shockwaves rippling through the area. The beast roared in defiance, but the demon remained unfazed. Effortlessly taking advantage, the commander landed a precise strike, pushing his opponent back and taking control of the fight. The guardian beast staggered, gasping for breath as it tried to maintain its defense against the onslaught. The general dominated the battlefield with ease. His sword sliced through his opponent effortlessly. Zachary watched the slaughter. Realizing his attacks were useless against the guardian beast's thick hide, he knew he had to step in right away if he wanted any hope of grabbing the prize. The clock ticked down its final moments. As the ancient tree hummed with primal energy, the guardian beast and the general locked eyes. Sensing a sudden shift in the air, a massive wave of magical power exploded, drawing everyone's attention to the source of light. Zachary appeared with a cold, calculating smile, ready to crash the general's party. He unleashed a concentrated blast of energy, tearing through the chaos with terrifying speed and precision. The impact sent a shockwave through the valley, throwing the demon forces into total disarray. Dust and debris filled the air, leaving the general stunned by the sudden, surprise ambush. Zachary scanned the chaotic battlefield, frantically searching for his target amidst the swirling downpour. A blinding blade suddenly flashed toward him, catching him completely off guard. He reacted on pure instinct, swinging his weapon to block the high-speed strike. Recognizing the armor, his opponent instantly identified him as the one responsible for Keveran's sudden death. The enemy charged with lethal intent, forcing Zachary to duck and weave by a hair's breadth. Struggling to keep up with the pace, he realized his opponent possessed terrifying speed and overwhelming, raw power. A sharp arc of energy sliced through the air, barely missing him by inches. The two warriors traded blows in a dance of death, testing each other's limits and reflexes until they were gasping and dazed. Zachary questioned his reckless choice to engage such a powerful enemy. His opponent smirked, saying now that the illusion was gone, they could settle this for good. Zachary finally stood face to face with his formidable opponent. All three combatants sized each other up. Tension escalated as they exchanged sharp glares, their eyes burning with raw, competitive energy. Ryle mocked Zachary for finally crawling out of the shadows, eager to test his own strength. With only 1 minute left until the fruit matured, the race for the treasure officially began. Ryle drew his sword with a smug smile, inviting his opponent to prove his worth. Zachary realized this opponent was stronger than anyone he had faced in this dungeon. Despite his superior strength stat, he found it incredibly difficult to land even a single blow on Ryle. Frustrated by the stalemate, he decided to shift his focus to the much bigger threat. He shouted to the beast guarding the tree, proposing a temporary truce to deal with the intruder. The massive beast roared in agreement, preparing to unleash a terrifying attack on their common enemy. Zachary barely dodged a crushing punch that shattered the ground beneath his feet. He engaged in a high-speed exchange, trading heavy blows with his formidable demon opponent. Their weapons clashed with raw power, sending shockwaves rippling across the area. The gap closed quickly as they continued their relentless dance of steel and magical energy. The general channeled crackling lightning into his sword, preparing for a devastating follow-up strike. Zachary realized he was completely outmatched in a head-on confrontation and needed a new plan. He frantically searched for an opening as the battlefield erupted in a blinding violet light. With only 34 seconds left on the clock, the tension reached its absolute limit. They were moving into position to snatch the fruit the second the shield dropped, which meant he knew exactly where they would be. As the countdown dropped to 23 seconds, the scramble for the fruit grew even more intense. Zachary watched the general and the beast collide, waiting for the perfect moment. A massive explosion of energy erupted as the two clashed with a blinding impact. Seeing the chaos unfold, he realized this was the golden opportunity he had been waiting for. He gripped his weapon tightly, channeling his power. As the system clock hit the 15-second mark, with no time to waste, he charged to capitalize on the distraction of their fight. His eyes burned with intense focus, fully determined to take down both targets at once. He lunged into the melee, moving with lethal speed toward the center of the conflict as he unleashed a sweeping slash. The air crackled with energy as he blurred across the battlefield with 10 seconds remaining. The general and the beast froze, suddenly sensing a dangerous new presence interrupting their private duel. Zachary struck with everything he had, closing the distance as the final 7 seconds ticked away. Zachary's sudden burst of power caught the general completely off guard, instantly shattering his composure. A shockwave tore through the area. As the countdown dropped to 5 seconds, he ignored the chaos and pressed forward, closing the remaining distance with desperate, single-minded focus. Leaping over the traitor, he pushed his body to the absolute limit with only 2 seconds left. Swinging his weapon with a final burst of momentum, he aimed to shatter the defensive barrier. The system-generated force field finally crumbled into glittering shards of light, exposing the prize to the open air. The ascension fruit ripened at that exact moment, pulsing with a radiant, supernatural glow. He severed the remaining strand of energy, detaching the treasure from the ancient branch. Reaching out with a steady hand, he snatched the glowing fruit right out of midair. Mission accomplished. He secured the ultimate prize while the battlefield fell into a stunned, absolute silence. Zachary knew the real challenge was just beginning now that the reward was in his hands, and as the entire valley turned its hostile gaze toward him, he had to make his escape. The moment his feet hit the ground, Zachary swung his axe with all his might, cleaving the monsters in front of him in two. "Get the hell out of my way," he muttered under his breath. He then began to swing his axe relentlessly, crushing any enemy that dared to approach. However, they seemed to completely disregard their own deaths, throwing themselves at him without pause, making Zachary feel a bit overwhelmed. "I knew stealing this fruit wouldn't be easy. Alright, if they want to throw their lives away to block my path, I'll oblige." With that thought, he channeled power into his axe blade and unleashed a whirlwind of death, shredding the surrounding soldiers into countless pieces. Their bodies fell like a horrific rain of blood and gore. But at that exact moment, his danger sense flared. Before he could react, General Rydell lunged at him. Luckily, Zachary sensed it just in time to bring up his weapon and block the blow. Even so, the terrifying force still sent him flying backward, slamming him hard into the cliffside before he came to a stop. A painful groan escaped his lips. As Zachary slumped to the ground, he muttered, "Damn it, looks like the plan to grab the fruit and run is out the window. They actually put aside their hatred just to stop me. How honorable." With no chance of a stealthy escape left, Zachary grit his teeth, and all three sides collided at once. An earth-shattering roar tore through the air. A massive explosion occurred as the three forces clashed. The terrifying pressure of the shockwave blew away the surrounding foot soldiers. A demon soldier saw this and frantically tried to run over to check the situation, but was held back by his comrade. "Stop, you'll only get in General Rydell's way. Besides, what could we even do in a battle between monsters like them?" Meanwhile, Zachary fought while his mind raced frantically. "He seems even stronger than me. There's no way to shake him off. Every time I try to run, he cuts me off. I have to use everything I've got just to keep up with him. Damn it, these frickin' demons and their lightning. Even blocking his attacks doesn't solve anything. I still get shocked regardless. Plus, this demon has a Dao seed too. Every single one of his strikes carries a terribly sharp, cutting sensation." Right as he blocked another blow, Zachary's body suddenly stiffened and he fell to his knees. "Is that lightning making my muscles spasm?" he thought, gritting his teeth. But Rydell seized the opening, lunging forward and driving his sword straight through Zachary's body. The severe wound made Zachary cough up blood as he collapsed in front of the demon. Rydell laughed triumphantly, "Pathetic. You have the guts to reach my level, but that's all the skill you've got. Now, I'll be taking that fruit back. With that, he leaned down to snatch the storage pouch off Zachary, but right at that moment, Cindermane lunged out and punched the general aside. Its eyes were filled with pure ferocity, as if it wouldn't allow anyone to touch what belonged to it. This made Rydell lose his mind with rage. You mangy ape, how does the stupid beast of that bastard cause me so much damn trouble so easily? Letting wild animals challenge us. I knew using these beasts was a mistake from the start. That bastard should have been whipped and dragged through the streets half dead if it wasn't for his grandfather backing him up. Once I get what I came for, I'll. His words were cut short as Cindermane's body was suddenly sliced in two, leaving him stunned. The one who struck, of course, was Zachary. Clutching the wound on his abdomen, he said, I didn't plan on dealing with the messenger first, but whatever. The system notified him that he had leveled up, and 4 out of the 5 invaders, messengers, and generals had been eliminated. Now it was just him and Rydell. On the opposite side, Cindermane's death didn't make Rydell flinch at all. So it's just you left? How could those weak messengers ever touch my true power? As he spoke, he used magic to control another sword, letting it hover around him before charging at the protagonist. Their weapons clashed continuously, sending out heavy shockwaves. In that moment, the protagonist seemed to achieve an epiphany. The Tao of Weight and the Chop skill, 2 abilities that Zachary had always used alternately blended together like 2 rivers flowing into the same channel. In that split second, Zachary felt a new surge of power coursing through him. He roared, channeling every ounce of his body's strength into the attack. The overwhelming force caught Rydell completely off guard. No way. This world hasn't even been initialized for 3 months. You can't possibly match me. With that, a pillar of energy exploded between the two. When the dust cleared, Rydell was covered in wounds and left speechless. Using his remaining strength, he manifested countless energy swords in midair, then directed them to launch straight at the protagonist. Zachary responded with a heavy slash, unleashing a massive wave of energy that shot up and collided with the swarm of energy swords. Another terrifying explosion rocked the battlefield. Once the aftershocks faded, Zachary lay on the ground, several energy swords impaling his body. General Rydell limped closer. Both of them were drenched in blood. Without another word, Rydell maneuvered another energy sword toward Zachary, while Zachary could only roar in his mind, "Move, damn it. Just move." The exact moment Zachary was trying to push himself, a sudden sharp pain pierced through Rydell's body. It turned out a sword had stabbed him straight from behind. A familiar voice rang out, "Hey there, cousin?" Rydell roared in absolute fury, "Monster!" Sure enough, behind him stood Orgus, wearing a look of pure, smug satisfaction. A pitch-black blade suddenly pierced through Rydell's chest from behind as Ogres appeared right at his back with a sarcastic greeting for his cousin. Rydell screamed Ogres' name in sheer shock, his blood splattering across his luxurious silver armor. Ogres wore a wicked grin, revealing sharp teeth and glowing blue eyes filled with malice. Rydell collapsed, crashing onto the dusty ground right at the feet of the traitor who had just struck with such cruelty. In the distance, Zach was also exhausted, forced to lean on his axe to keep his balance after the long, grueling battle. The surrounding demon soldiers froze at the unbelievable sight, unable to grasp why their own kin were turning on each other. A purple-skinned demon soldier stared at Rydell's body, his eyes wide with disbelief at what had just happened. He roared in fury upon realizing the Supreme General had been assassinated by one of his own. The entire Demon Legion was in an uproar, shouts of betrayal echoing throughout the valley. Zack watched on, bewildered. He hadn't expected the demon to finish off his own commander so abruptly. The demon troops began to lose it, screaming for revenge for Rydell and charging toward the center of the battlefield. Meanwhile, Ogres quietly reached into his robe, preparing to pull out something secret. He quickly gulped down a strange pill amidst the chaos swirling around them. Zack looked at Ogres with deep suspicion. Was this move meant to save him, or did the guy have some other, more terrifying scheme? Ogres swallowed the pill, his face remaining cold and unreadable. He walked casually across the battlefield, ignoring Rydell's cold corpse lying behind him. Suddenly, Ogres vomited a mouthful of thick, black blood, his body seemingly suffering from a massive backlash. He buckled to the ground, and though Zack watched from afar, he didn't dare lower his guard for even a second. Just then, the system interface popped up, notifying Zack that he had completed the mission to eliminate all 4 heralds and the general. Rydell's death officially marked the end of the arduous quest chain Zack had been shouldering. The words "mission completed" lit up, a result that had been beyond his initial expectations. The demon soldiers nearby were completely stunned by their commander's sudden death. Zack's jaw dropped in shock, wondering if Ogres intended to off himself right after killing his cousin. He started speculating about the purple-haired guy's true identity, Perhaps he was an assassin from some rival faction. Looking down from above, the battlefield was immersed in tragedy, with the body of the once mighty general lying there. Zack brushed aside his chaotic thoughts, realizing the enraged demon army was starting to shift their attention toward him. Surrounded by thousands of enemies, Zack knew he had only a few brief seconds to find the only way out. Ogre's body suddenly twitched violently, signaling that the demon hadn't actually kicked the bucket yet. Zack tightened his grip on his axe, bracing for whatever worst-case scenario was about to unfold. Ogre struggled to sit up, coughing up more blood but still finding the energy to make a snarky comment about the unpleasant experience he'd just had. Zack muttered to himself in frustration. He really didn't want to get involved with this crazy demon at all. He took a step back, keeping a safe distance from the guy who had just killed someone without batting an eye. Ogres raised a hand, signaling for Zack to stop, trying to steady his rapid breathing. With a face smeared with blood, he declared that the two of them were now on the same side if they wanted to get out of there alive. Zack narrowed his eyes in skepticism. He was half tempted to just swing his axe and take the guy's head off to end it. Ogres urged him on, knowing Zack held the poison cauldron and demanding he toss it into the fire immediately if they both wanted to survive. Zack glanced at the demon legion closing the circle. He still didn't trust the person who had just betrayed his own side enough to follow orders. Ogres roared, saying the reason he killed Rydell didn't matter as much as their lives at this moment. He emphasized that if Zack didn't cooperate immediately, both of them were definitely going to die here. Zack clicked his tongue. As much as he hated it, he knew this demon was right about their current do-or-die situation. Looking at the sea of enemies, Zack understood that trying to fight head-on right now was just suicide. He stood in the center of the death pit, preparing for one final, desperate gamble to find a glimmer of hope. Zack agreed. He had no other choice but to bet on the demon's words. He hoisted the large cauldron filled with imp poison, ready for the decisive throw. With all his might, Zack launched the cauldron into the air, aiming straight for the roaring flames below. The cauldron shattered, releasing a massive amount of thick, greenish toxic smoke that blanketed the ground. The Kyuko poison mist flared up violently, quickly spreading and swallowing everything in sight. The demon troops screamed in panic as they choked, beginning to collapse from the lethal, fast-acting poison. Amidst the toxic haze, Zack turned to ask Ogres about the next step, but the demon only replied with a cryptic look. Ogres flashed a cold smile, wished Zack luck, then casually swallowed an antidote and used an invisibility skill, abandoning him. Zack was stunned to realize he'd been played by that bastard at the very last second. He stood alone in the heart of the lethal mist, feeling his rage flare up. Zack cursed his own stupidity for having trusted a cunning demon like Ogres. Realizing the mountain winds would soon push the poison mist to cover the entire valley, Zack scrambled to find an escape route. The battlefield was now nothing but a chaotic mess drowned in the deadly green of the poison. He held his breath, trying to run as fast as possible while his body grew increasingly exhausted from his open wounds. Zack's efforts seemed hopeless as the toxic mist began to seep into the wounds on his body. The Kyuko poison had entered his bloodstream, creating terrifying, glowing green veins across his skin. Deep within his blood vessels, the toxin was ravaging his cells, causing an indescribable agony. Zack gritted his teeth in hatred for the demon ogres while running. He'd been pushed onto this death march. He knew he needed to reach higher ground, where the poison couldn't easily reach, to find a sliver of hope for survival. Though his entire body was shaking from the poison's reaction, Zack never stopped forcing his legs to keep moving. Zack's body gradually began to fail him, and he started to stumble, unable to keep his balance any longer. He gasped for air, feeling as if his chest were being crushed by the toxic atmosphere surrounding him. The toxicity of this mist was far beyond any poison Zack had encountered in the caves before. In the moment of deepest despair, Zack suddenly spotted a strange, glowing pool of water in the middle of the deep forest. Even without knowing what was in it, Zack believed this might be the only safe place left for him to take refuge. Without hesitation, Zack threw himself into the pool, which was vibrant with energy, trying to dive deep to the bottom to avoid the toxic mist above. Beneath the water, Zack hoped to find a passage leading deep into the heart of the mountain, where he could truly be safe. He could feel a massive surge of cosmic energy boiling within the pool, and it began to engulf his body. The pain hit immediately. The energy in the pool began burning Zack's skin as if he were being dunked in acid. Zack screamed silently underwater, his entire body feeling as if it were being roasted by the terrifyingly pure energy. He mocked his own fate. Was 2 months of effort really going to end with him exploding from absorbing too much energy from this pool? In his desperation, Zack pulled out the mystical fruit and decided to eat it, hoping it would bring a miracle. Just from tasting it, Zack felt a sweet flavor and a cooling surge of energy begin to spread throughout his body. He sighed with relief as he saw the fruit begin its healing work, the wounds seemingly starting to soothe. But the relief didn't last long. A searing heat began to flare up, more intense than ever before. Zack's body became a battlefield for two opposing currents of energy, clashing violently and causing him excruciating pain. The water around Zack began to burn. He felt as if he were being cooked alive in an eternal furnace. Then suddenly, the heat turned into bone-chilling cold, waves of hot and cold alternating to torture Zack's body without rest. This pain was worse than anything Zack had ever experienced, and he pleaded in vain for the nightmare to stop. Zack slowly lost feeling in his limbs and chest, his body sinking deep into the bottom of the pool in a state of absolute emptiness.